All right, we're back for part two of the June Joust finals. Yesterday, we covered the first four maps of the series, ending on Rialto. Fuel ended up winning Lijiang, Volskaya, and Rialto, going up 3-1 in the series so far. Obviously, as we know, this is the turning point for Dragons when they really start coming online. From the main takeaway from yesterday, looking at the matchup between Dragons and Fuel, is that Dragons are starting to slow down as of like around Umbani and really starting to play more of Fuel style and more of the team-based, less individualistic style. While still being fast-paced, it's less about a lot of individuals finding a lot of playmaking potential. And notably, Fleta and Lip, I think, are reining in their play a little bit in favor of letting Fate on ball control the map more and letting Fuel sort of burn their engage so that Dragons has a better counter engage. So, looking into future maps here, knowing what the map score is going to be, I'm curious to see what, if anything, Fuel is going to do to adapt to this, to Dragons being able to keep up with them now. If Fuel keeps on the same track, they might look like a bit of like a one-trick pony for the rest of this series. So it'll be interesting to see if any kind of adaptations we see from them. So let's get right into Busan. I really like, by the way, the new broadcast or the new tournament structure, the way they do map rules. So it used to be a lot of set maps. It wouldn't be enough of like loser's pick, but also it used to just go to like, once you did for the first four maps, it would just default to control a lot of the time. So you play like 5 control maps back to back if you needed to. Now they actually cycle in other map types, of course. So composition's looking the same. I guess we can watch the rollouts here. Hey, RWO, how's it going? So yeah, composition is looking the same. Let me bring out my pen. I forgot to load that up. On this map, I would heavily favor Dragon's comp. Solely because, like, the only difference obviously is ball. But the way Dragons play, or have been playing around ball in the previous 2 maps, is letting ball control the map and objectives and not really looking for hard engages, because from what we've seen a lot of the time, Fuel will win out if both teams just go all out into the same space. Fuel will usually win those out because they've got better team synergy. They're always on the same page, and they're I think they make really good use out of Fearless's Winston to keep them really threatening during those phases. But if Dragons can slow the pace down and force Fuel to make an aggressive move, leave cover, go to point, trying to make a dive work, something like this, then during that time, Fate can be controlling space either on an objective or on a flank, waiting for the counter engage to roll back into his team and slam and stuff like that to slow down Fuel's engage. And then after that point, after Sparkles used his boost, after Doha's forced to Wraith, after Fielder's forced to Fade, that's when Dragons usually have their best opportunities to turn things. That's where Lip and Fleta can come online. We've also seen Fleta take plenty of duels against Sparkle and come out on top as well. Although that's also been going kind of back and forth. But yeah, let's see how this first fight goes. Because of how open this map is, that's why I want to say I favor Dragon's comp. Yeah, as soon as Fuel coming out, Fate's already rolling in. So this was like, oh no, I didn't change my settings. So 20 seconds still. So as soon as Fuel, so this is Fuel's opening move. They're going for a TP play. They're rushing out. I don't know if they've committed speed boost yet. It looks like they haven't. And then Fate immediately ready to roll through. This is already way better than we've seen like in the first couple maps, where Fate was usually looking desynced from his team, which almost seemed like by design. Like Fate would be desynced, Fleta would be desynced, Lip would be desynced, and the idea would be to like, you can't handle all of these things at once. Fuel's fast-paced playstyle was beating that by almost ignoring all the other threats because of how fast they were going. It doesn't matter if 2 threats are engaging here and 1 threat's presented here, if they're already on top of this threat by the time these threats come online. So instead of opting for that all-out chaos style, Dragons is now coordinating a lot more, playing a lot slower. Notice where Lip and Fleta are already. They're not trying to make aggressive TP plays. Fleta's not like above them looking for sticky bombs. They're letting Fate control the pace, and then they're going to follow up. Huge slam. Lip is there to do some damage, was forced to Wraith out. Doa actually finds value from the TP. Okay. After all that Dragons still didn't absorb enough of Fuel's pressure, even after that huge slam. So how does Doa find so much value during that? Let's go fight further. Did you just go, like, ignored? I mean, kinda. The Matrix just was way too late from Void. He got 4 shots off after a TP play, which is, like, the most obviously telegraphed thing. So, one, anytime Reaper is in your backline, coming in from like an angle like this, it's on Lee Jae-gon to get the boop. So number one, just like shut down his immediate value so that he's not able to immediately start shooting when he comes out of his TP. He gets desynced. He has to work to close the distance. Instead, what we saw was Fleta forced to shift away. Maybe he was playing 2 anyway, but he got really low. He got forced to shift away. Unmatrixed. Izayaki goes down, again, forced so close to his team, and Void's Matrix just a little bit too late. I would like to see tighter play from Lee Jae-gon. I've been calling him out quite a bit this series. There were a couple times I've noticed his beats getting canceled. I think it was 3 times in the past 4 maps. And also situations like this where just straight up like Reaper is your top priority. Especially when Fuel is making these aggressive plays. If you're unaware that Reaper's making this TP play, that's like sort of an excuse, but not really, because that's, again, like that's your job to be like smelling that out as the Lucio player. Obviously, then on top of Void too, like after the boot comes through, eventually Reaper's still going to be able to close the distance. That's where the Matrix comes in, but I don't think Void was expecting this opportunity window to happen so quickly, which is why the reaction was so slow. I think he was focusing more on Sparkle. Now that he's burned his Matrix, reacting to Doa, Sparkle then comes online. And yeah, those 2 kills obviously more than enough to solidify the point here. Fate's going to keep some space and keep threatening their backline. The only thing Fuel can do in these situations, because like when Fate's out in your backline or when the team's like not within threat range, all they can do is sort of like just run around as a blob, like go cover to cover, stuff like this. Because if they stay in the open too long, Fleta, even Fate's damage, like over time, will just burn them out, burn Fielder's, what's it called? His juice. Sure, it's building them coalesce and stuff like that, but if Dragons can match ult economy during these phases, they'll eventually be burned out and eventually find like a good dive setup. Actually, thinking about this, there's probably not a lot of poke priority in these comps. Even though Echo's like so good at poke, they're probably told to like reel in their poke because of how fast coalescence charges. Like I imagine Fleta and Sparkle are mainly looking at like DPS members they can force cooldowns out of. Ooh, this is really interesting from Dragons actually. So let me look back at this engage. So Fuel opt to engage here with a jump. Fuel coming up on coalescence, so they know they can go aggressive first. The jump comes in, and what a normal, or what Dragons would do early on in the series is try to kite this back and then re-engage. I think because they had Fate behind in the backline, they opted instead to try to push forward through this engage. Either way, because of how much sustain is in this composition, they are going to live this engage. It's a matter for like how much they have to burn to live through this engage, and then what kind of follow-up Fuel can use to punish what is used. So no matter where they go, ooh, that's even bigger. That's too small. Okay, there we go. No matter where they go to absorb this engage, they're going to take similar amounts of damage. They're going to take a little bit more by going this way. But by pushing aggressively during this rotation, they are, 1, threatening more space around the objective. 2, catching Fuel in an unsuspected way. Look at where Fearless's bubble went down. He was expecting them to kite this way to make anyone who's outside of the bubble unable to heal who's inside and things like this. So it's catching them off guard and it's making their cooldowns less useful. This is similar to when you'd see teams try to push with a Diva Bomb. So imagine you've got like a Diva right here and they're throwing bomb right here. Like sure, you could kite back and just try to like shield the bomb or try to get around cover or something like that. But a much higher tempo play that's often, it's something that needs to be pre-planned usually. And it needs to be something that you can't just react to, because if 6 people react to Diva Bomb differently, then someone's going to die. But if everyone's on the same page reacting to the Diva Bomb, or in this case, the dive engage, about going forward, you can actually punish the enemy team because they'll be more exposed. They'll be in a baby Diva, obviously, and the bomb will be like a non-factor. In this case, Fearless's dive is the non-factor because he's expecting the team to kite this way, because that's like the normal way to play Overwatch, right? But because Dragons make this heads-up rotation, it looks like they're in a decent spot to take this team fight. Fate slam to keep them there a little bit longer. The coalescence comes through. Lip finds a kill. but the Coalescence should be enough. If Fielder was even like 10% further away from Cole, Dragons might have won that. I like the idea a lot from Dragons. They're playing a lot faster, and this is what I mean by a lot faster, because typically this is not how you play Overwatch, but in this meta, because of how much sustained, you can get away with a lot more greedy play, and you can use that sort of greed and that sustain to play a bit of a mix-up game to the enemy team and like bait them into wasting cooldowns, like we just saw them attempt there. Yeah. Also, like these are such small things, but like you can see how much better Fuel is at like funneling ult charge into Fielder, and what tells me that is not just because Fielder had first ult, but because Lee Jae Gon has ult, and Fuel just won 2 fights, and Jexay's still only at 90%. So Lee Jae Gon's like amping heals during some of these fights, I'm assuming, which again shouldn't be necessary with this lineup. Every single member on this team shouldn't be a dive target by default unless they've burnt cooldowns or something like that. So amping heals should like rarely happen. I would say only in like extended team fights, like after the first second engage cooldowns have been used from either team. So yeah, I'm not sure like if they've talked about this much. Obviously when they were still playing in the APAC region, they were playing a lot of Ana Brig. So they weren't even playing Lucio Moira, so it might be something they haven't put as much practice into as the Fuel, and Fuel's been able to like min-max a little bit further. But they are starting to catch on in terms of the identity of this composition, at least, which is really cool. Beat and Mines used to counter Primal. This is a really interesting beat. I think this is a poorly timed beat. So we're already using Mines. Unless we're expecting to kill, like even if we are expecting to kill Fearless, like what is proccing this beat? This almost looks like a miss, like a fat finger Q, because the times you want to use an ultimate like beat, if you're not using it purely defensively, if you're not responding to a Diva Bomb, Blossom, or something, or Coalescence getting your team down to half HP that you can push back onto, unless you're directly responding to immediate kill threat, which they are not right now. Sure, Primal eventually might create an immediate kill threat. Lee Jae Gon knows that better than anyone else. But this is not a situation in which this is a survival ultimate. So what that means is this is intended to be a tempo ultimate. A tempo ultimate meaning Fuel just use things. They're expecting Dragons to use some cooldowns to push them back and then maybe push into them, but not something as strong as Beat. So Beat gives them like more priority in their turn, meaning instead of just being able to push these people back, they can push further and maybe take a fight win off of it. When you're using tempo ultimates, however, and especially one with Beat, which has a very defined opportunity window, the shields only last a certain amount of time, you need to be squeezing more value out than this. If you're beating and the only immediate target is a primaling Winston and then a bubble and then a Diva, these are the only things in front of you, you are not getting value from this tempo. It would be much better to see them survive this dive, force the primal. If primal then becomes a kill threat, then we can beat defensively and push back. Otherwise, if primal is ending, or if we see Fuel commit harder and we see more valuable targets available to us, then we beat and immediately turn the table. It's usually the first like 1.5 to 2 seconds of any tempo ultimate being used, something like this beat, something like a nano being used, sometimes even duplicate can be seen as a tempo ult. It's usually, like I said, the first 1.5 to 2 seconds that you need to find value, because that's the time it takes to catch the enemy off guard. After those 2 seconds expire, they know you've beated, they know how they have to play differently, and they have time to communicate and regroup and coordinate something as a team. So this beat is really weirdly timed for me. You can see how it's nearly impossible, and look, the beat's already over. Like, they got absolutely nothing. Primal was probably going to be forced anyway thanks to the mines, and now they don't have beat to stabilize from. Now there's a counter beat from Fuel. Like, there's no beat to stabilize any of this play. Ultimates are kind of just flying left and right. Void finds Fielder with a bomb. That's probably a misplay from Fielder, if anything. I didn't see exactly where he died. And despite that awkward intro, Dragons are winning this fight. I want to say this mainly came down to Fielder dying relatively early. Let me look at the beat from Fuel and see what exactly they did with it. So the Primal is still going. So this isn't even a fight that like either team is equipped to commit to. There's no... It's hard for Fuel to regroup after that. Actually, it's not that hard for Fuel to regroup. Fuel's all together right now. Sparkle's ulting right after Primal ends. This should be an aggressive window for Fuel. I would love to see them right now ignore the payload and start chasing, I mean, I guess Izayaki, or maybe into here, where Lee Jae-gon went, or even like someone like Lip, but they need to be on the same page immediately right now. And I think they just flounder a little bit. No one is on like a distinct target. They're kind of just huddled around the objective waiting for someone to call the target. With the beat, it's purely stabilization. They're not making an aggressive move with it. Sparkle in his mech is playing with the team, which previously we've seen him get a lot of value from playing separate from the team. Reason being, if he plays like, so he was around here. If he had gone aggressive or even just like maintained an angle or even like above point as Fuel's falling back here, then he becomes this really big annoyance for the enemy team where they want to push through him and they don't want to deal with him, but not dealing with him leads to easy diva, easy diva bombs and stuff like that, and harder engages on the core. By playing with the team, like sure you've got two divas, but it's not facilitating any aggressive moves, which is leading to Void's diva bomb. Fielder, yeah, he doesn't have shift right now. This is tragic. And the slam keeps him in place. A nice little combo from Fate and Void. Diva bomb leading into another diva bomb. Just Fuel is just so on the back foot this whole time. They didn't get enough value from their beat to try and turn it. Fielder didn't live long enough to charge another Coalescence. Sparkle's duplicate wasn't positioned well enough to stave off Dragon's aggression. I think what probably happened in their communication is they saw how much Dragons was committing. Not only did they commit the beat and the mines early, they committed duplicate, bomb, and Coalescence, right? But he's already charged another one. I think they committed Coalescence fairly early as well. Not to mention probably a Blossom that I didn't even see. So Fuel seeing all these things are either calling for a dry fight, knowing that they have 90% locked in, or they're calling for like a very slow fight, because rarely do teams call to just like give up a fight, but they might have called that their best chance of winning this was to try and actually play that slow game, play that sort of default kiting method just to bait out everything from Dragons. And then if everything goes according to plan, if everyone lives, maybe we wasted beat, maybe we wasted Sparkle's ultimate, but they're using literally 6 ultimates trying to push into us. If we can survive those 6 ultimates, then any one thing could be enough to close it. Another Coalescence from Fielder, maybe a Death Blossom from Doa. But they didn't reach that point. Dragons had too much pressure. They used too many things really well, I will say. Like I said, the combo with the bomb and the slam. The ultimates one after each other to continue pressure. It was an awkward start, but Dragons cleaned it up quickly, and Fuel got left in the dust a little bit. Really fast engage coming in from Fuel. The mines, again, this is similar to what Dragons was trying to do on this retake. Fate is trying to stall them here by using mines, probably tried to slam them as well, I missed it. But Fuel just said, nope, we're just going forward. No respect to the local speed limits, and just going full-on aggressive. They find a kill onto Lee Jae-gon. They find a kill onto Lip. All they have to do now is just maintain this pressure, no one dies, and they keep moving forward. Doa goes down, but it's straight there at the same time as Izayaki. Again, we're seeing Fearless just put the team on his back during these moments, because like everyone else just needs to stay alive, and Fearless is still just like, yeah, I'm in Primal, I can do whatever I want, and he gets 2 kills. First round going to Fuel, looks like. Izayaki touches. Bit of a style points for Doa there. Yeah, easy enough. This is due to mainly, I mean, winning the first fight on Koth always puts you in the power position. So clean win first fight for Fuel just by going fast. Dragons not winning their first re-engage because they weren't ready for Coalescence, I believe, is the main reason. And then the one retake they did win cost them 6 ultimates. And then when the map's at 90%, using 6 ultimates to win that fight is good, obviously. You'd rather do that than give up the map, but not good enough to handle what Fuel had to pull out. And all they had to do, again, was just go fast with more resources. Same comp here. This, I've had some debates with people whether or not this map is a good ball map. I don't think this is a good ball map. I've heard lots of arguments for ball on this map, namely because like these lanes can be really strong for ball, both for controlling these chokes, as well as forcing people towards the point and using these high grounds and stuff like that for like slam and cover and whatever you need. But I think this open space was generally the most contested space on this map. People rarely fight on the point unless they absolutely have to. This space is kind of weird for ball because moving towards or away from the enemy can be pretty risky, and the space, once you've committed, like if you've committed over here or over here, becomes kind of rough to maneuver. Sure, there's like short cover you can hide behind, but I feel like it's very possible to run a ball down once they've committed slam on a map like this, unless they're close enough to these buildings towards the point. But let's see what Fate can do. Very early slam. Oh, this seems like such good adaptation. Like, so before, what we saw in Sanctuary is Fate holding back with his team. Notice that Fuel just went aggressive right off the bat, and he did hold him in place for a decent amount of time, but it wasn't long enough, and it wasn't enough for Dragons to like engage on, so they still got ran over. Here, Fate just like lets it rip right out the gate. He sees them, he sees backline members, and he immediately goes for a slam. He knows that Fuel's not going to waste time focusing him down right now. He knows Doa doesn't want to be shooting at a ball with 600 HP and armor. He knows these things. So this slam, while looks like a very hard committal, knowing the way Fuel plays, this is like the best way to disrupt them. So like there, I mean, you can see Hanbin like setting up for a boost. You can see Fearless was probably looking for a jump. Lucio's here to go for the speed. Everyone's here ready to follow up. They haven't even made an aggressive move yet, but Fate is like reading their minds based on, I mean, their previous actions, obviously, and going for the slam immediately, knowing that he's going to be safe doing so, and knowing that it's going to slow down Fuel's engage a lot better than trying to react to their engage. It's a bit of a risky play. Oh man, Isayaki going down early is not good though. Yeah, now being forced onto the point right here is a really awkward space. Fleta, Void, Fate can all just play around the high grounds really easily. First fight, very decisive. Izayaki going down is a bit awkward because now he can't charge as much Coalescence. You see Fielder at almost 80% and he's at 25. So they're going to have that first ultimate. But again, Lee Jae gone. Like, maybe they prioritize beat over Cole. Like, maybe they're purposefully amping speed. It's hard to say because Lee Jae-gong almost has as much ult charge as Fielder right now after the first fight, which is insane for a Lucio. And I don't think he's getting that off just damage. Of course, Izayaki dying first fight meant that all the healing went to Lee Jae-gong, but it seems like maybe it's something they've planned out. All right, let's see if Fate... Okay, Fate doesn't have the setup this time. Gets 0 value from his slam. This is the nightmare scenario where it's not... Okay, so the main difference, again, I talked about this yesterday, but just to cover it quickly again, one of the main differences between Winston and Ball is that Ball's uptime kind of looks like this. Like very rapid. Here, let me redraw that. That was terrible. Kind of looks like this. He's got like rapid succession in his hits, but not very high peaks. Whereas Winston's engages kind of look like this. You have to wait longer for your cooldowns, but the peak at which they can engage, because of things like Bubble, because of his jump, how easy it is to land, because of ultimates like Primal that just spike his power super high, he becomes better at hard committing, while being also a little bit more predictable. Ball's engage can be less predictable because he can come from more unsuspecting angles because of how fast he can move and all these, and because of how grapple works, and you can do a lot of creative movement tech. But Slam isn't as valuable as Bubble for the most part. And while you can find lots of different opportunities, if this is the opportunity you're finding, it's going to be very, very hard to get back into this fight and do anything meaningful because you've missed your one chance to slow down their aggression. And now Fearless, who's ready to hard commit, granted this bubble's a little bit awkward, is ready to just go deep right now. And he's 70 to Primal, that means he's probably going to build this fight. Fielder's going in with Coalescence right now. And Fate's just like trying to catch up and do anything of value right now. Fielder, what is with Moira's dying first? Fielder dies here. Let's go to his POV. Oh, he gets booped in. But, okay, no. He gets booped in, but then also rounds the corner. I was about to give him the benefit of the doubt, but no, this was a hyper-aggressive move from Fielder. So he gets booped by the ball there. But, like, this is where he lands, and then he decides to go around this corner. And this is just bloodlust right here. This is not uncommon for Fuel. They started, like, A, they engaged B, used Coalescence, but they're actually ending the fight C. The problem is, every step of this movement needs to be a decision, not just by an individual, but by the team. And the team decision to push to B was 100% there, but it seems like, seeing that they've rounded this corner, only Fielder is making the choice to push to C. At the very least, he's making the choice first before his team is ready to follow him, and then he's like, oh shit, my team's not here. So that's the power of disruption from Fate. Being able to force people to make different decisions because people are now getting different information based on being booped around the map. It can be as simple as that. Very aggressive Death Blossom. Fight going very back and forth, but I think Dragons should win this. They're forcing a lot of ultimates, but yeah, this should be Dragons' fight. For sure. So that was Coalescence, Bomb, Duplicate, Blossom. Dupe, Bomb, Coalescence, Primal used from Fuel, so not bad. Not bad trades at all. Having Mines here will hopefully find some value. Fate needs to be set up further. I would love to see Fate actually just up here rather than here. This gives you more information. Like you can see them sooner here, but I would love to see Void scouting this angle. Fate holding here to be able to see the long rotation if they go for it. Obviously main, but no one ever goes main. This is the main thing. So you have Void here to scout out timing for Fate, and then Fate can swing from here, land directly on this corner. I think what they're doing is they're letting Fuel out here, and they're engaging around here by even just like here or grappling from here and looking for a slam, or maybe even a roll through. But especially with a Mines play, I think hitting the choke aggressively early would be better. And you're not going to like slow down Fuel. Like Fuel's not going to back up in these situations like we've seen. So you can be doing this like almost like an early commit. Maybe Fuel will try to bait you because they've done that like once or twice before. But I think you need to play in anticipation of them going aggressive right off the bat. And I think you have more options playing from here as ball than you do from here. Even though this place gives more information, you have a team to feed you information. They're playing really far back. They know they're down on ult economy. So a pretty common tactic, I just realized this is what they might be doing. A common tactic in the Overwatch League especially is when you know you're down in ult economy, like Dragons are, they only have Mines. Fuel has Beat, which will just completely deny Mines, and Doa, which can potentially close out a fight. What Dragons is trying to do is prolong this fight for as long as possible, I assume, based on this positioning at least. It doesn't look like they're going to go for a hard commit. By prolonging this engage, by forcing these regular cooldowns just to get here or get to point or things like this, they can leverage the objective because it's in their favor. This gives them time to potentially build something like a copy or a coalescence, most likely. Fate will want to use his Mines first still to be able to prolong the engage and be able to stave off some of this initial aggression because, again, the way you would counter this playstyle of playing slow is just not committing early from Fuel. It's a little bit comparable to playing against an EMP, where if the only ultimate you have is EMP, you need to make sure it's like high value and stuff like that. So if Fate's the only ultimate here and they're trying to build other ultimates, they need to play slow and guarantee value from the Mines. But the way you beat that is just by not committing altogether, not diving together with the team and avoiding the EMP and like forcing a bad EMP and stuff like that, forcing the objective more, forcing individual pickoffs and stuff like that more. So Fuel seem to be committing hard as usual. So that doesn't look like anything crazy from them. So the Mine shouldn't be impossible to find value with, but Lip goes down almost immediately. Let's see how he dies. So the surround from Hanbin, it's literally just the tanks. Sparkle hasn't hit it. And Lip has Fade here. Maybe he was expecting to get more HP back from shooting tanks, but was getting Matrix. This is just a misplay, and this is maybe just nerves or ping even or something like that. But this is pretty bad. The beat to maintain their aggression. And then Izayaki's going to go down. Fearless detaching from the team a little bit here. That looked way too easy. And like this is just like Dragons, like again, like if you're wanting to play slow, that's great. But this is them, like this is a lack of proper posturing. Because if Fuel can like smell that you're afraid, they're just going to go ham and know that they can't go even further without finding an advantage. Killing Lip was that advantage, which led to them branching off and continuing to fight. They can do whatever they want once they get that pick. But the decision to go early was so easy to make because they weren't being challenged at all. By not controlling chokes better, by not having Fleta set up to dual Sparkle, not having Fate set up for an early Mines play, these kind of things, Fuel just breeze by them without even sweating. They get a bubble that's this deep, which is, again, could have been forced back here or even back here potentially. The Mines, again, find no value because they were a reaction to Fuel's aggression rather than a preemptive motion. Even though it was planned to be using Mines first, obviously. And then Fuel just roll over them. Lip going down, obviously, like, the big turning point for that fight. But still, like, up to that moment, Dragons could have been doing more. Yeah, here's Fate trying to touch the point. This is just opening up the rest of the map. Because, yeah, Fuel just want to stay together. This is what they do. This is how they survive. This is how they punish. So, Fate just being alive over there means that all this map is now free for the rest of Dragons to approach. Ooh, a little TP Blossom play from Doa. Nothing but Blossom and Coalescence to use that fight. That's a good fight win. Dragons might be playing just to build 6 ultimates. Although at this point they could commit, knowing they have the first Coalescence, knowing Beat was used previous fight, Blossom was just used. The biggest thing they have to worry about is Primal, which hopefully they can force with Coalescence and then continue to survive. Maybe forcing Beat, but then you've got Fleta and Lip to close out the fight. In a perfect world. Okay, instead they're opting for an early copy mirrored by Sparkle's copy. So this engage, it feels weird. They're playing like, so this engage makes sense if you have like a Kree or an Ashe. Because long range hit scan damage is immediate follow-up to anywhere they have sightline on, right? But right now, your follow-up from Reaper, from Void, from both your supports are like a full second behind. And by the time they're done reacting to Fleta's copy, to Fate's engage and his slam, then the other threats are going to come online. But like, yeah, like imagine if Lip was here to start shooting when the slam goes off. Or if if Fleta went in for like sticky bombs first during the slam and then copy to close out kills. Or if we had another ultimate like a bomb or a Coalescence that was following up these things. Those would make sense from range, but nothing is committed at the same time from Dragons there. The Primal here should find good value. The bomb zones everyone off point, but Primal is doing a much better job of zoning. Awkward bomb from Hanbin. Bombs are just being thrown back and forth. It's like dodgeball right now. This was a really awkward bomb for me because of where Fearless was already committing, and I'm not sure why Fuel is so slow to try and aggress out of here. At this moment, Doa's going for a TP play. You see him TPing over there. Fearless is primaling. Sure, we need to hide from this bomb. I can understand that. But then the moment this bomb is gone, we should be trying to follow up this aggression. We should be trying to ignore people like Void and Fleta if we can, and follow up whatever Fearless is doing. If that's not the plan, then both Sparkle and Fearless should be trying to regroup until they find an opportunity to aggress somewhere. That's been Fuel's playbook. But what we're seeing is a bomb play from Hanbin in a really weird spot. I assume it wasn't meant to hit this thing. It was meant to land like a little bit further maybe. But even here, it maybe catches Void, but that's it. No, I wouldn't even catch Void. Okay, it catches Fleta and causes the duplicate to end. So that's something. But then yeah, Fuel just completely split. Less ultimate economy. Because they used a lot of stuff. I think they got a little bit nervous about trying to recommit here. They got nervous about leaving the point, or they got nervous about whether or not this was worth engaging on. They didn't have perfect information. I imagine Jexa is one of their biggest target callers, or sort of fight planners, not target callers. And sort of he'd be the one making the call to go out there, and maybe he just didn't have the information. He knew Fearless was primaling, and Primal isn't something you usually coordinate a big team play around. You let Primal do its thing, and then everyone else picks up the pieces of whatever Primal sort of opens up for them. But yeah, 1-1 on Busan. Dragons looking cleaner on their engages a little bit. Still some stuff to clean up, obviously. Still could be timing in our engages better, I would say. Especially when we know we have an all-in commitment. But also Dragons would like to see better leverage of their neutral play. I think having Fate on ball means they can leverage neutral a lot more. They can leverage the objective a lot more. They can leverage range damage a little bit more. They can leverage rollouts and chokes a lot more than they currently are. From Fuel, it's really just a couple fights where they got caught out of position or off guard by certain things. And the biggest thing is just I want them to keep playing the way they have been before. If they clean up their play to just back to their style, I think their Dragons isn't playing clean enough to fully punish it, even though they are adapting to it. So this time, this was kind of a case of the Sanctuary situation again, where Fate goes in as a reaction to Fuel's engage. But this time, Fuel isn't willing to push around this corner, which again is uncharacteristic. Normally, Fuel is like all hands on deck all the way into their spawn room. But here, they're playing more standard. Like, this is where every team fights, right? Every team comes out here, starts brawling here, tries to hold the team here. That's the expected outcome, and that's what Fate's able to punish with the slam. Well, roll through and then slam. So, really well played by Fate, for sure, to get that opportunity window. Now we're seeing the follow-up, Fleta hitting Sparkle during the slam. This is exactly why these combos are good, because this is just free kill potential. Yeah, Sparkle's dead. And then the follow-up is easy because the threat of engage and the threat of as much damage isn't there. Doa's not TP'd in your backline. The bubble is down. Hanbin's Matrix has probably been half used. Sparkle's dead. So this is like what Dragons feel this matchup should go like, I think. And this is Fuel not defying their expectations enough. So this is exactly the situation Dragons is trying to find. This is what they were trying to find on Sanctuary. This is what they did find on Downtown as well, and what they're doing here really well. And maybe this is just a matter of like different rollouts and different maps and different timings that's changing Fate's decision-making tree, but they've looked a little bit different each time. But this time, by far the biggest win. Again, from Fuel, they've catered a playstyle to completely ignoring those situations, and they're just not following through with it. I'm not sure exactly why. Why do they care about being slammed? Again, there's so much sustain in this composition that even if they're spooped and slammed right here, by the time the bubble goes down, they should be back at full HP pushing into their backline because of Moira healing, because of Orb, because of Reaper HP, because of Matrix, because everything. They should be able to make it through even that much of a disruption, in my opinion. It's hard to say for sure because it didn't happen, obviously, but would like to see more of that all-in playstyle if Fuel is going to commit to that playstyle. Big disruption again before Fuel can get set up. This is also another map similar to Sanctuary where... so a lot of people think open sightlines can be good for dive maps, or for dive comps, because you have gap closers, right? It's easier than trying to cross this distance with something like a Reinhardt shield, or a Orisa, who has like very anchored positions she can hold, right? But arguably, it's even harder for dive tanks like Winston because you don't want to commit your jump too early. Once you use your jump, that's your commitment, right? It's like the same as, say, Orisa using Fortify or putting down her shield. You're committed to a certain space. That's what you're saying by when you jump and when you throw your bubble down as Winston. So, in order to get the most value out of those cooldowns, you want to close as much distance as possible before committing the jump. You want to walk up and do these things before. You want to find your target, do all these things, set your DPS up before you jump to get the most value out of it, and to guarantee you're not just going to feed as Winston. Open sightlines like this and long lanes like this are hard to do that, whereas Ball can approach the fight from whatever direction he chooses. He doesn't need to be with the team. He doesn't need to jump in a straight angle. It's not predictable where he's going to be or come from. And then these lanes are great for disruption, great for finding slams, great for booping people around the point. And this is true up here as well. So Fuel would love to be able to walk out this choke, be able to stage around this high ground, be able to speed on people down here and stuff like that. But anytime they're forced into this more open space, it becomes harder for Fearless to set up. Obviously harder for Doa to follow up just as much, as long as they can mark his TPs, which they're doing right now. Good job, Lee Jagon, just like we talked about. And as long as they can control the choke points well enough that it makes Fuel's approach awkward, it's going to slow them down inherently. And then we see these forced engages where Doa finds no value from his engage, the Coalescence isn't finding enough, and now Dragons just clean up the pieces. This is more like standard Overwatch that we're seeing. I don't know why Fade and Lip just died. Okay, Lip goes down to Sparkle. So Sparkle hits some nice shots. That's kind of whatever. Fate goes for the boop of the century, but then stays here, trying to kill Jexa, and then dies. That's unfortunate. That's going to lead Fuel into an early engage, maybe even just into a free point. Oh, they use Coalescence once they see them jump in. Oh, if Void stays alive? No. Beat's going to close this out. Beat should close this out. Oh, the remake. Okay, never mind. This is still back and forth. Ultimates being thrown around. I have no idea what's happening. Sparkle gets a remake kill somewhere. Blossom finds value. Fearless goes down. This should be Dragons win, but I don't know anymore. Okay, Doa cleans it up. Yeah, so this is a lot of what we've been seeing in NA, this team fight right here, where it's just a lot of chaos, a lot of people doing individual things and finding individual plays like this Blossom, just based off their own playmaking ability. Doa probably noticed Bull Void was low on Matrix, so he hits the Blossom immediately. This wasn't something that was like highly coordinated. These dives, these re-engages didn't look highly coordinated. The slams from Fate weren't really followed up. The damage from Sparkle and Fleta is just kind of whatever they can find. This is just a lot of chaos from what I can tell, which speaks to individual playmakers. Obviously, like well played by Doa, well played by Sparkle to find that kill on Lip, things like that. But it doesn't lead itself to very interesting Overwatch, just very like hype plays, I would say. Really early jump there. But it'll be back on time for their real engage. Are they... What's Fearless doing? They've got no ultimates, which, like, sure. But... So again, this is similar to like what Dragons was doing on Downtown, where because they're behind on ult economy, they're trying to drag this fight out for longer, so they're just trying to make sure they survive this engage. I'm pretty sure that's why Fearless counterdove here, why he put the bubble down on Fate, to make sure the Slam Coalescence didn't find enough value to get a kill. Then hopefully they can build Coalescence of their own, or build a Diva Bomb, or build a copy to re-engage into this fight. But at this moment in time, they've traded Coalescence, and no one's died. They've traded Mines as well, no one's died. This is not too bad if you're Fuel, but it's still not a fight you can really take. Oh, and Hanbin doesn't get his bomb, and he goes down. And they flip the map. So maybe they were even trying to just, like, stall the point and not take a fight there. And 3 ults were used from Dragons, which, not the worst case scenario from if you're Fuel. but still not a situation you want to be in where it's 90% retaking on mecha base. Notably, the hardest Busan map to retake because of how defined the choke points are, and things like this can happen from Fate. Fielder is going deep. Doa finds a kill on Lip. Okay. Again, like these individual plays, like from someone like Lip like that, they're just completely unnecessary, I think. He should be trying to be a threat for sure, but never in a situation where he could even have the chance of dying, I would say. Not until he's committing with his team and he's following something up explicitly. Always fun to see a Reaper kill an Echo. Alright, Fuel's gonna clean this one up again. Yeah, not having Lip there kind of limits your closing potential. You just need big damage dealers when there's so much sustain. Fate's here to keep Hanbin on point, but easy enough to mark. Committing Cole to keep Fleta up. Very disconnected fight again. But Dragons are... What is this beat? Who are you beating? I guess Doa? Where's Doa? This seems unnecessary. I mean, they know if they lose Doa, they lose the fight. So this is the reality of playing in a match situation. Like, you can't look at everything as like, this is what you should have done to play perfectly, because this is such a tense moment. If Fuel wins this point, they win the series, right? That's what's in the back of their minds. So I can understand a little bit of that beat for that reason. But God, that sucks to have to use beat that early. But Fate ends up going down. Overcommitting to his sort of flank roll. Lee Jae-gon goes down. Fuel looking like they're in a really good spot. 90% on the time bank. Dragons have DPS ults online, which is more than Fuel can say. Ooh, that's a hard kite from Dallas. So again, Dallas is in a situation where they're down ult economy, and they're telling themselves, like, just live. Just survive this dive, this copy, this Fate play, and we can stall it out, we can build ults, we can come back in. That seems to be the game plan. By doing this, again, the rest of the team is free, but also they're committing onto sort of like Fleta's copy, which is not where they want to be, obviously. And they gave up a lot of space. Oh no, where's Hanbin? Hanbin's too worried about the point to be there to Matrix for Lip. This is the kind of situation where the chaos of Dragon's style benefits them so much more. When they can add an outside pressure, that is the objective. It's impossible for Hanbin to mark Fleta, Lip, and the point. And that's what we just saw. That was... I think if you're Fuel, and you know this is going to be last fight, and you know even though you're down on ults, I think you need to commit something aggressive here. I think you need to commit to your aggressive playstyle. Even if they flip the point, overtime will reset. It will, right? Yeah, overtime will reset, and they'll have time to like potentially extend the fight even a little bit, but they need to make something happen here to force some play that gives Sparkle something to work with, gives mainly Sparkle, gives Doa some room to play with these kind of things. Instead, they're playing really safe. Every point of damage they're doing is insignificant right now. Now, the fight's basically starting right now, but yeah, look at where Fuel's attention is. They're thinking about going back in because they're just like, okay, we survived the dive. We've still held the point. We're looking forward. Then all of a sudden, Lip in your backline. And again, this is like the very standard-ish Reaper play that we've been seeing in both regions, where they cause chaos and then Reaper manipulates that chaos and that attention. Again, really, really bad Diva Bomb from Fleta. But yeah, using Reaper to manipulate that attention and close out the fight with unsuspecting damage is like one of his best play styles, from what I can tell. Fuel don't typically go for that. Doa does it a couple times, like he finds individual moments to shine, but typically they rely on Doa's like stability and just like being there for backline members, and then like, or being there to just be like all out aggressive off a TP play. And it's sort of a similar thing where Fuel's aggression will buy space and time for Doa because they go so aggressive, but it's not like on a flank or anything, and it's not like layered one after another. It's just all at the same time. Whereas Dragons will come in like they came in with Fate, they came in with Fleda's copy, and then from the back line, it's Lip's Death Blossom. And on top of all of this, the point was at 99%. They had to be thinking about that as well. So it's kind of a difference between Fuel trying to bulldoze over Dragons and Dragons trying to overwhelm and sort of tax their mental, I suppose, by overwhelming them. Do you think the Cole the fight before was an overcommit after using beat? Felt a bit too much. Let me look. Right, you're talking about Fuel's Cole? Let me take a quick look. So they beated to save Doha. Is this the fight we're talking about? And right here. So yeah, the beat comes out, which the beat itself I feel is an overcommit, just because Doha is not in a position to get punished, and Fielder's on him. And if they commit to trying to kill Doha, that should be punishable, hopefully. But yeah, I understand it in the moment. Bomb here. Bomb plus Cole. So Cole. So one, it's not guaranteed this bomb is going to find any value. And two, the one thing that makes me say this is an overcommitment from Cole is that there's no one for them to commit on as a team. No one's committed to the point. This is a little bit of panic. I think what they're expecting to happen is the bomb is going to force them onto the point, and then they're going to be able to Cole and jump on them. I would have liked to see just 1 extra second before Fielder commits the coalescence here to actually open up a target. If no target presents itself, or if the bomb finds value on its own, then that's fine. But I think because bomb was used, that's what triggered Field to use Cole. So looking back hindsight, like, yeah, absolutely, this was a useless ultimate. Just like I could say the same for beat. But in the moment, what they were thinking is they're trying to force an aggressive movement and then capitalize on it. So there was some planning there. It just didn't go the way they expected, and they end up overcommitting. Which happens all the time. All right. So that was Busan. The map score is now 3-2 in favor of Fuel.
Ready for battle.
Eichenwald. It's going.
5, 4,
What do you know? More of the same comps.
1. Attackers incoming.
Eichenwald first, notoriously fairly hard to cap, but with this playstyle, or with these compositions, I should say, the chokes don't matter that much. Again, with so much sustain, you can almost guarantee your first rotation, whether that's here, wherever you want to go. It looks like Fate's trying to wrap around to get some backline pressure, / touch the point, / roll through. But yeah, choke point doesn't really matter. Lip walking up. Fate touching the point. He's going to try and roll through here. Lee Jae-gun says nope. So, interestingly, I think this engage would have gone extremely well if Lip flanked. The fact that they committed Lucio's boop onto Fate. So looking back at this, let's watch it. Let's hit the 0.25. So Lip right now is in the front line shooting Fearless. Fate goes in for a roll through to try and keep them. So they're trying to keep them in this space because this is more overexposed than this, obviously. They're trying to keep them at this corner, which Fate's going to do by rolling through and likely slamming them. Then the follow-up from Lip is going to be right there. And then obviously the sustain, voids, matrix, all this stuff is going to be here to get as much damage as possible onto likely Fearless, who's then going to be forced to jump away, which is going to open up another aggressive opportunity for Dragons. That's what seems to be the fight plan. This gets denied by the boop from Jexay. Well done. And I think this boop actually enables Fuel, instead of getting stagnated here, allows them to push forward and try and look for a kill, which doesn't seem to be exactly what they're doing. The bubble's committed. Notably, just Fearless is allowed to be here for much longer than he should have been if the boop from Fate had come through normally. Fleta is the one on the flank trying to clean up these kills, but Fleta doesn't have the same staying power as Reaper and flies away. Or just kidding, dies. I forgot. But what I was saying is I think Lip being on the flank here could have been the play because of Fearless being the one they're trying to manipulate. So if the boop succeeds and the slam succeeds, one, the jump away from Fearless is now a lot less safe. And the same amount of damage is roughly there, arguably more if Flood is able to like shoot above the Matrix, but roughly the same if you exchange Reaper for Echo in this moment. And then Reaper has more staying power with the Wraith, being able to Wraith back to his team or back around the choke, whatever the situation calls for. Or even like a TP play here at the same time. Granted, pretty hard TP sightlines. Maybe you could get like right here or something like that. But would like to see more Reaper aggression from Lip instead of aggression from Fleda's Echo here, because Fleda's just more squishy in a sense, especially without ultimate, obviously. Prompts the re-engage from Fuel, cleaning up kills. Oh no, Sparkle tries to stall the baby diva and goes down. He hopefully will be back on time, since Void is still dead as well, but that's a lot of damage they're missing. They might even Coalescence here without him if Dragons tries to move in. Yeah, it looks like they're going to have to. Yeah, Coalescence comes through. Okay, right as Sparkle's getting back. We're playing Ring Around the Rosie. Yeah. Nice. Again, this is more of the old feel we're seeing. They're staying together. Like, even though that's like a really awkward rotation to try and keep up and communicate, they do it fairly cleanly. Not perfectly, obviously, but fairly cleanly, and they get the kill because of it. So this is the fuel we love to see. Primal comes in for disruption here. Oh my god, just all-out aggression from Dragons this time. Without even an ultimate committed, Sparkle goes down. So let's look at what Fleta does during this aggression. So you can already see they're like so ready to go deep. They're like already speed boosting. Okay, Fate's about to commit. So this is all just off communication. Fleta goes in. He's like, where is he? He goes straight for him. Not a chance. In order to stop that aggression, Fuel needs better posturing at this choke. Even if you're not willing to commit here, you need some poke damage. You need something to be able to predict their movement. If they're forced to speed from here to here and you can see them coming, it's much better than them speeding from here to here as they round a corner and you're not ready to react to it. But obviously this game isn't much about the neutral play, so they've sort of not... Neither team is really committing to a lot of choke pressure or things like that because... One, there's not a lot of staying power from either team, so getting poked out while defending a choke can be really, really bad. But also, there's not a lot of like long-range damage that can really benefit from spamming chokes and stuff like that, other than Echo. The Primal here needs to find more value. It just... Okay. Quick kill from Doa. But now getting traded out. This is going in Dragon's favor. The beat's just going to seal the deal. Oh, I don't know about that one, Jexa. Seems pretty ambitious to me. Fuel are full committing to this, and Fate goes down to a Diva Bomb. Okay. Oh my god. This is just... I don't even know what's happening anymore. Remake. The copy remake kills Doa. Fuel didn't look good during this fight, but they managed to regroup well enough. Even before this, actually. Right around here, I think. So yeah, right before they beated. So they committed into space knowing that... okay, so I don't know about this beat, but it keeps Jexa alive, which is a pretty big deal. So we beat here to try and punish Void, who's committed into the space, but he's just doing a quick drive-by, and he gets out. The nice boot from Lee Jae-gong keeps them here so they can't follow Void. Good. From both teams, fairly good. This is going to wear out Dragon's beat, and this is going to stabilize these four members, the two tanks, the two supports, from Fuel. Sparkle is almost back from spawn, meaning they have a decent fight that they can take here and some decent ultimates to work with as well. They don't necessarily need Doa to open or close out this fight. So the beat here making more and more sense the more I think about it. They try to go really aggressive with Sparkle's spawn timing, and with the beat still ticking in their favor. It was a stronger beat than Dragons because it came out considerably later. The bomb and slam combo coming out from Fate and Void again, but the bubble shuts that down. Although the bubble breaking does teammate Hanbin, unfortunately. Oh, and almost kills Fearless. Hanbin uses bomb. Fearless ends up going down to Lip, who's on the flank now, and is now in a really prime position to come clean up this fight as well. But Hanbin's just remake bomb ends up killing Fate, and then he gets the remake on point, followed up by Fielder's Coalescence. Jexay doesn't see Lip. No one sees Lip come in, but he finds no value. He should have just gone for the solo kill on Jexay. So he kills Fearless. Oh, just Blossom. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't have Blossom. He was building it. And oh, no. I thought he had Blossom right away. Okay. I missaw that. And then, yeah, the remake kills Doa in a bit, too, which is so funny. But this is... Fleta really just ran it down to get the remake. But Fuel end up looking very strong. And look how well they've grouped up. And again, they're playing into close space where they can kite into and bait aggression from Dragons to try and come get them. Also into where their respawns are coming from and stuff like that. They need to be really careful not to give up the point here. But yeah, well done from Fuel. Again, staying cool under pressure. Sparkle, a little bit of over-aggression there. That might cost them the point, unfortunately, because they only need a tick. But yeah, it takes a lot of discipline to be able to maintain composure during situations like that and still be able to make aggressive calls. Coalescence traded out. Mine's not really doing much. Sparkle's now back. Fuel looking for an engage probably off of Primal right now. Unfortunately, they're still not in a great space to try and follow this up. This is purely to like slow down the oppressive push from Dragons. Because right now, like, Fuel was like backed into a corner. So this Primal likely isn't going to get them any kill pressure, but it's going to give them control over the point again, which is going to be at the back of Dragon's mind with only a minute on the clock. And it's going to give them potential for isolation if Fearless can just play out of his mind. So yeah, they push him off the point. Ooh, Fearless goes in. Doa finds Lee Jae-gon, but Fearless overcommits just a bit. I think the jump into a slap was good. I don't think you commit trying to get environmentals, and I think jumping out or jumping in not knowing Echo's cooldown state is a little bit scary. But this is still very winnable from Fuel. Sparkle, very dangerous spot. Blossom straighted out. Beat used to counter bomb. Oh man, they just straight up ignore Fate during all of these fights. It's crazy. Yeah, now Dragons have the ults to clean this up, as well as the spawns. Interesting bomb attempt from Sparkle. These mines are likely going to solidify. Yeah, okay. Very chaotic. Biggest thing being Fearless going down during Primal, I think. Really solidified. And then Lee Jae-gon staying alive long enough to be able to build a beat as well. I mean, like, everything else kind of went somewhat normally. Both Blossoms got denied. The copies didn't find too much value. But Fearless going down, going for an aggressive Primal play. I think, again, like, use that Primal to regain this space, and that's great. Then pushing for more is like the cherry on top, but if it's going to get you killed, you never want to go for that. Unless you can guarantee a trade kill. But even if you can guarantee a trade, like, they're going to be back closer from spawn anyway, so it's rough. Fuel looking to go early. Ooh, a little too early. I think Doa was expecting a harder commit from his team. Fearless jumped to like hold this choke. Doa was going in aggressively. I think Doa was expecting them to push through here almost. There's such a big emphasis on just not even giving up slight advantages. Like remeching there for Hanbin instead of like letting them push the card a bit. It's definitely harder to retake or to push for space in this comp in general because of the engage potential from defenders. Like, look how Fate's going to look to set up to disrupt this recontest. Ooh, Fearless is out on the ball, I just realized. So, he just made the swap. I'm assuming because second point is fairly open. First point, there's lots of little nooks and crannies to get back into to hide around the point and stuff like that, as well as like Bubble can do a lot of good things at all these corners and chokes. With more open sightlines, it's easier to move more fluidly around chokes, long lanes and stuff like this, all the way around the point, through the castle and stuff like that. So I can understand that wanting to use ball because Winston's inherently harder to play with more open sightlines, less value on chokes. But also they might just be trying to match what Dragons is doing and be able to contest payload with someone like Fearless. They know it's going to be hard to break through this choke without outside pressure, so Fearless can be that outside pressure if he goes to the point. But that doesn't seem to be the case since they're all rushing out. Fearless does go to the point, but at this point it doesn't really matter that he's on point because there's already an engage happening and they've already left the point from Dragon's side. So it's really thanks to, one, like obviously really good healing from Fielder, but then Sparkle's duplicate to get like double matrix to maintain this space. And then now they can potentially go aggressive. That's a really good Mines, actually. Forcing them into this open space, meaning that Dragons don't need to come to them anymore. Dragons can force them into themselves. Nice try, Doa. Nice try, Lip. Most Blossoms will not do much in this composition, unless like an insane amount of chaos has been created and all of Matrix has been used. Very back and forth fight. Again, Fuel trying to huddle back into their little closed corridors, stabilize a little bit, then come back out or punish, but it looks like that happened a little bit too slowly, or Dragons are just putting up too much pressure for that to work this time. Fearless not being on the Winston can be part of that because they don't have the stability of like a bubble and the threat of cleave damage during those moments. Fearless alive. Is Fearless out of the choke? No, he's not. Is he going to touch? Okay, Doa's going to touch. Fearless. Oh, those are not great Mines. Would have loved to see Mines deny this space instead of this space, just because this is the most common area for attackers to sort of huddle behind because you need to fully leave the choke to punish that space. If you're trying to punish this bridge, you can even use the choke to your advantage. Not to mention that anyone flying above, like Sparkle or Doa going for a TP, can hit this space a lot more easily. But the Coalescence is there as well. Looks like it'll be enough, unless Fate C9s. Almost.
10 seconds remaining.
Not bad. But now, again, Dragons love using objective pressure as part of their team comp. What is Fate doing? Okay, he thought he had to touch for overtime. Big Mines play. Yeah. Fleta on the legs, coming out. Just wanted to be there a little bit faster, a little more consistent damage. Knowing that he's not going to be challenged because Fuel is landlocked to where the payload is about to cap. I think that could have been a cleaner... So one, I don't think Fuel needed to have 6 members on cart like they basically did. Having Hanbin there should be more than enough. And they still need to, again, even when they're so defensive, in order to play to their strengths, they need to find aggressive moves at some point. Even if it means giving up payload pressure, or even if it means taking like risky engages, I think they need to play like that in order to make this comp, or in order to make their style work. Because playing slower is only going to benefit Dragons, especially with Fleta on the soldier here. And it's not enough to dissuade their engage. Attack Visor predictably doesn't do much. Mines play here again. So if you're using Mines like this, like it's not bad because there were some members committed past the choke. So this Mine they're planning on going aggressive anyway, right? So typically when you use mines, you're using it to cut off an area of retreat more than anything. So using mines like this is cutting off these people from being able to help the disengage, but it's not stopping these members from like leaving the fight. And I would be worried, or at least I'd be more worried about these members surviving or potentially getting out, and then all of a sudden you're stuck on this side of the payload and then they've got to collapse on you. But Fuel seemed more concerned with just like going fast, immediately finding value, which is working here, obviously. So hard to say anything's wrong there. It's just the mines didn't really seem to be part of that engage, other than stopping Fate from like rolling through here. Which, if that was planned, like it definitely did its job. It just seems unnecessary for that engage, and could have been used otherwise. Like could have been used to engage here, and then you roll out here and you use mines behind them, and then all of a sudden they're stuck here, and then you roll back through them as Fearless or something like that. But maybe he didn't have time. Maybe these opportunity windows are a lot shorter than I realize, and it's kind of hard to say. Oh, I don't think Fearless is happy that he's on ball. Got a little bit booped around there, a little bit messed up some movement tech, caught out by a bomb. I think he'd much rather be playing Winston. And I think Winston would be the better pick on this third point too. At least on defense. Bomb early. These early bomb plays seem so half-baked. So like we saw Void's bombs getting value when Fate was like going in and slamming. But anytime a D.Va bomb just goes in and then people try to follow it up, it's so hard. Because, so I mentioned that like the first like 1.5 to 2 seconds of any ultimate being used are when you need to find value. This is true as bomb as well, because it's not the point when the bomb explodes that you're using, it's the attention that the bomb gets and the reaction to the bomb that you're using. So sure, like bomb blowing up and killing people is cool and will win a team fight if they get killed by it, right? But in pro play, that's not what you're playing for. You're playing for the forced reaction to the D.Va bomb, because yeah, like it or not, this bomb will kill you, so that it forces them to run away and do awkward split plays like this. When you're not ready to capitalize on individual members like this Lucio Moira, like this Echo, like maybe even this ball, if you have enough damage, then this bomb play just does nothing. And all it does, well, I guess it buys 5 seconds before they can really hard commit. But yeah, now there's just no bomb on the table when you'd love to have a bomb to either remech as Hanmin or bomb right now to counter mines, to counter a beat play. If Dragon pushes in, to counter an over-aggressive movement, to counter Flood using shift in or using duplicate, these kind of things. But it's just not on the table anymore. Sparkle opts for the copy ball here. I'm not sure if that was intentional or just forced. Yeah, now they got beat. This beat's going to close out the map, it looks like. Yeah. Fuel looking less composed as the series goes on. So, Dragons have not only looked consistent across this series, but have looked like they've been adapting. And I think that's the difference of these teams at this point in the series. Because like the first 4 maps were heavily in Fuel's favor. And Fuel's playstyle was incredibly consistent and catching Dragons off guard. So Dragons adapted their playstyle to respond to what Fuel was doing. And it wasn't like a clear cut, like Shanghai was dumpstering Fuel now that they've adapted. It wasn't that simple. But they were at least keeping up with Fuel. Now that they're keeping up with Fuel, Fuel is sort of running out of gas. They're sort of second guessing their engages. They're starting to play slower a lot more often. And they're getting split up more often. They're not on the same page every single time. Their first point looked clean as hell. Their first point was so good. But then as soon as they lost first point, they struggled to find a strong engage. They struggled to find space. They're forced onto a ball swap to try and get more opportunities. And they really struggled to hold Dragons anywhere meaningful. Their engage here, when they went early, was disconnected when Doa went more aggressive than usual. Their re-engage on the cart, or I should say, more importantly, the re-engage when they were playing around cart here They were so scared to leave the objective. They wanted to just play like default Overwatch, which isn't going to work when Dragons are playing this aggressively this quickly. It's like Fuel like forced Dragons to adapt their own playstyle, and then Fuel can't handle it themselves in some situations. Disruption from Fate again. Nice little slam. Good that they're not overcommitting here. It's just to stave off that aggression. Both teams, again, look at the ult difference on supports. I think this is like the one thing Fuel have cracked way better than the Dragons, is that they know how to farm Coalescence first, and that can be a fight winner in these first fight engages. And I'm surprised Dragons aren't doing it more. I'm surprised they haven't identified this. They don't even need... Wow, they don't even need Coalescence. Let's go back and rewatch that. So, this is a case of Dragons over-aggressing a little bit, trying to punish too much, because Fuel came in with a soft engage. Fearless was here. They pushed Fearless out. Great. Job done. Engagement over. But it looks like Fate and Void tried to get a little bit too aggressive, maybe tried to force more cooldowns, like a Fade, or a... What's Reaper's Fade called? I forget. Wraith. Right? Wraith Walk? That's what it's called? Trying to force one of those cooldowns, but instead, they just traded out HPs, and that's leading to an engage opportunity for Fuel. Even with their dive being booped away, Dragons don't have time to stabilize, because now their focus is on all these threats. They don't have time to just pump healing and stuff like that. They're already getting engaged on. So just a bit of an over-aggressive step from Dragons there, into a decisive fight win from Fuel. Again, like I mentioned, second point is probably the one point on this map that favors Ball pretty heavily over Winston. And not to mention, because of how... So, Eichenwald second is pretty interesting because all the valuable space, notably this high ground, it's kind of like Gibraltar, where all the valuable space is so far away from where the payload's going to be that you have to dedicate time and rotations to taking this space, and it means being able to use someone like Ball to contest the payload is just going to stop a lot of these rotations in their tracks, because you can't just ignore the payload or you're not going to finish the map. Everything is Fade, yeah. Reaper Fade, Moira Fade, Diva's got a Fade, Winston's got a Fade, Echo definitely has a Fade. Everything is just called Fade now. Ooh, they're going hyper aggressive here, trying to catch them off guard a little bit, but yeah, this is Fuel's wheelhouse. If both teams are hard committing equally, that will favor the Winston comp. I think you need to play a little bit slower if you're Dragons. Play a little bit more around the objective, and you're still committing. There's like, oh, maybe it could still work. Oh, they're still committing. They're using beat. I mean, they broke his mech, and they forced a bomb play. So Dragons won at the cost of 4 ultimates. Fuel committed 4 ultimates. Actually, they committed 5. They committed Fielder's ultimate. So this is actually like so in favor of Dragons, and I don't think it should have been. So this right here, like, it seems like it's pretty heavily in Fuel's favor, right? And then the beat, yeah, the beat's already been used. Doa goes for an aggressive play. So again, this is kind of the case of what Dragons did on first point, where Fuel think they're punishing, but Dragons like aren't done committing. Sparkle and Doa both overcommitting here. They can't be past this choke. There's just no reason when there's still threats in your backline, when there were still people stuck behind here, notably during the mines as well. Like they're in this fast-paced mindset, which is good for the composition. But when fights start evolving like this, and when ultimates start getting thrown back and forth, you need to have a very clear-cut decision about when you're ending it. And Sparkle and Doa thought they were ending it, when in reality, the rest of the team wasn't ready to follow up. And Dragons obviously had the power position past this choke, where they had so much more space to work with, and so many more members available to help them. Yeah, Dragons are not afraid to commit past this choke. It's crazy. Because I would assume anything around the payload, especially on this side of the choke, would favor Winston, would favor having a bubble, being able to cut off this choke, notably, cut off any healing for anyone behind here. But, man, they're pushing here aggressively. They were even trying to, like, push to the first point here, I think. So they're trying to catch Fuel off guard, which, again, this is, like, more of Fuel's style that we're seeing. Ooh, this is a big bomb. Maybe not. Yeah, this bubble location is huge. It's just Fuel's not able to go as quickly. And it's benefiting Dragons really heavily. It's so hard to spectate under this bridge. Committing Mines and Blossom. They always use Mines with something, like Diva Bomb or Cole or Blossom in this case. It's interesting. Coalescence to shut down this rotation. This is what Shanghai needed to be doing on Busan downtown, controlling chokes this heavily, and being willing to push through them even if it's awkward, if it benefits them. Fearless gets Lee Jae gone, which is nice. Coalescence here, okay. Maybe they can't do this 3 fights in a row, only twice, before Fuel handles them properly. But I don't even think... Actually, no, Dragons wouldn't engage it unless they were intending to win, so this is well played by Fuel, especially being able to conserve all these ultimates. And Dragons just overstepping one final time instead of playing a little bit slower, because I think they've been bitten too many times by playing slow, that they're just saying, maybe even just like go fast even when it doesn't make sense to try and catch them off guard. Nice beat from Lee Jae gone. Fuel should be disengaging here. Now they re-engage with beat and bomb. I don't like that bomb. I would much rather see bombs with specific targets in mind. They're bombing for this space, not for a specific hero. If they were bombing for a specific hero, they would have a target to go on, and they would be following through with this bomb. They're bombing just for space, and I'm assuming they're anticipating being able to clean out the people on point, but when the people on point just leave, I mean, I guess they kill Void for that bomb, but he just bombs and remax. When people on point also just, like, run and hide, like Fate did, like Void is surviving with this bomb, then the aggression from the bomb really doesn't mean anything. They need a clearer target priority when they go in with these bombs. Oh my god, Fate lives. Alright, Lip wins that exchange, apparently. And the Coalescence cleans it up. It's interesting to see ultimates being used in pairs. Cole and Blossom. Mines and Beat. Or Mines and Bomb. Copy and Coalescence often. It's all about overwhelming. It's not about layering necessarily. It's about like big... So like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, in Double Bubble, what you'll see a lot is like ultimates leading into other ultimates. So Nano... Oops, that's not an N. Nano into Primal. Into Rally. Into whatever the closing ultimate is to finish that fight. In this comp, we're seeing Cole plus Reaper Ult. We're seeing Diva Bomb plus Mines. We're seeing Beat plus something else. I don't know. Mines, Bomb. To overwhelm in like a single punch. Because, again, like with the amount of sustain, like they can sustain one ultimate just fine. They can sustain Coalescence just fine. Blossom, obviously very easy to sustain with Matrix. Mines just fine. And trading ultimates 1 for 1 doesn't seem to be worth it. So if they can trade 2 ultimates for like 1 ultimate and maybe getting a kill, that's worth it every single time, right? That seems to be the strategy with the ultimates from both teams, from what I can tell. It's hard to talk much deeper than that. Like, I don't know what this Cole is. Again, like, very easy to sustain this. They use this Coalescence to force this whole rotation. They started here. They're now ending here. Coalescence is almost running out. It's over now. And, like, that was not a problem at all for Dragons. Fuel are actually at a deficit now. Flood is committing copy. And this is, like, so much of a better engage for Dragons than it is for Fuel right now. Because Dragons are able to move more fluidly than they have been in the past. They've adapted Fuel's playstyle very well. And again, like, this is how Fuel was overwhelming teams before, by just committing earlier and deeper than teams were ready for. Dragons are more than ready for it, to the point where they're actually punishing Fuel for that same playstyle. This is likely the deepest we're going to see this meta, obviously, with the June Joust over, but this level of adaptation and anticipation and punishment from Dragons, Fearless on the Hog now, by the way, but yeah, this level of play from Dragons is probably the peak of this meta that we've seen or ever will see. Being ready to adapt themselves to any and all of these threats, for most situations at least, until it becomes overly chaotic. You can only plan so many steps in advance. Maybe you can't plan for the Fearless Hog. So what I'm thinking what I assume Fearless is thinking by swapping onto the Hog here, is that he needs to be more of an individual threat. With Winston, he can bulldoze over teams and enable more of his DPS. Also, his supports, I suppose. With bubbles, with hard engagements in set spaces. And the mix-up game comes from where they're actually going to commit. When they start here, you'd think they might be willing to commit here, but then all of a sudden they're committing here. That's how you can overwhelm with more resources in unexpected space, which is what Fuel's done a lot. With Ball, you can create a lot more chaos, which can slow these kinds of rotations, and deny a lot of that setup before it even reaches the point of commitment, which is what we're seeing Fate doing. Now they have Hog, and what I assume the play for Hog is, well, one is because it's close to overtime, and they don't have time to make full rotations, like stuff like that. What I assume they're trying to do is they're trying to bait a counter play from Dragons, and they're using the immediate kill threat of Fearless to turn Fate into a kill target, but also have infinitely more pressure on everyone else. It doesn't matter if you have a get out of jail free card. If you get hooked, you still die. So the engagements aren't as hard and aren't as beneficial to the rest of the team, but having this split threat means any commitment from Dragons can potentially be punished by a hook. And this puts a lot of pressure on Fearless's shoulders, obviously, to actually land hooks and be valuable. But it also creates a lot of inherent pressure on the enemy to the point where they might not be playing as aggressively out of fear of getting hooked, which might open up more space for Sparkle and Doa. It's a kind of a back and forth game. I don't think it's good, and I think it is fairly... It's kind of like a solved problem. Like, people know how to play around Roadhog at this point. So it's not, like, insane of a play, but it is stopping what Dragons have been doing and forcing them to come up with something new. And it's not looking like it's going to be enough, obviously. But I understand the effort. I like what they were going for. Forcing a response from a team in the moment, in a map that could be their last, like, again, like, if Fuel wins this map, they end the series, is a lot of pressure in the moment. And only the most composed teams can really keep it together and still find proper playmaking potential and still find enough aggressive moments to capitalize on situations like this. Fuel are getting kills, but this should be free for Dragons, right? Like, Flood is just playing aim labs right now. I don't know why he's ADing. Are they really losing this? Fearless ends up swapping back onto the ball, and now Sparkle's on Doomfist too. Wow. They just couldn't close it out. That fight where they were committing Cole into here, I think they should have waited for a clear target again. Like, unless they're willing to put all 6 members through here and commit there, that led to Izayaki getting hooked out here, canceling the Cole, canceling that whole aggressive play. They just need to be willing to give up the payload and go find a kill and then come back more often for Dragons. They're still, like, still learning this playstyle, I think, and I think it's a little bit unnatural for them to try and commit as hard as Fuel does in a lot of situations. Okay, this'll be it though, right? Surely. The mines. Doa on the Blossom! Void again, just a second too slow. Oh my god. Alright, they're capping second.
The payload has reached the
1.5 minutes with Doomfist Reaper Ball. I don't hate Doomfist in this comp. I think similar. Okay, we're swapping onto Winston, swapping onto Echo instead of a Reaper. Echo offering more consistent range damage, obviously Duplicate being a stronger ultimate than Death Blossom because you can't block a Diva Bomb, or sorry, you can't Matrix a Diva Bomb. Fearless swapping onto the Winston here because of closed spaces, you can get closer before committing to a dive, and also Bubble can block this entire alley. A lot of good reasons for these swaps. Sparkle on the Doomfist is obviously the key factor here. If he can get value out of Doomfist, Fuel can win this map. What getting value out of Doomfist will look like will be punishing people that try to punish Fearless, being able to punch Fate out of his grapple, being able to punch Hanbin into a wall and demech him, being able to obviously cancel things like Coalescence, maybe even, or sorry, this Coalescence, being able to cancel things like Death Blossom. Rarely will he be able to actually punch one-shot a support or a DPS, because they will be looking for him as a big kill threat, similar to how people are looking for Lip as a big kill threat. You commit Boop, you commit Matrix to Lip, because if unchecked, he will kill you. You commit Bodies, and you commit Attention to Sparkle, because if unchecked, he will kill people. So I'm expecting most of his value to be on the front line, being able to disrupt Matrix, being able to demech Void, being able to disrupt Fate, cancel his rollouts, being able to cancel things that are going aggressively, like Blossom, like Coalescence, will probably be the best value you'll see from Sparkle. You see him on Void now, but Lip's Blossom is too much. He's got the Doomfist ult, which is not a very powerful ultimate, especially in this composition. Or I should say, against this composition. Because again, everyone's got to get a jail free card. Hanbin with the remake onto Izayaki. I mean, it's cute, but realistically, it's just stalling Hanbin further. Izayaki not being there would usually be detrimental, or like hugely detrimental, like fight-winningly detrimental. But Beat from Lee Jae-gon is a free get out of jail free card for the rest of the team if Fuel decides to hard commit. Not to mention they can also just kite away with speed. Yeah, Fuel's just going to push the payload a little bit for free. Izayaki's already back. Now they can hard commit without Hanbin being there, which could be huge. Hanbin's there now. They missed their opportunity. So now we're back at neutral. Sparkle having a very hard time getting in. Yeah, too much damage. Too much unblockable damage, too. Would have needed, like, a bubble there. Or Hanbin flying in front of his face to stop the beam. Yeah, very, very hard to stop Doomfist. Because, well, one, there's not really any space for him to approach from an off angle. Alright, that bomb just stopped existing. Okay. Doom ult used. Punching divas. Punching divas isn't doing enough. Remake kills Fielder. This is just... Okay, he finds Void as a baby. Yeah, Sparkle's not getting enough done on Doom. But, surprisingly, Fuel's still doing enough work to close out this fight. Let me rewatch this. So, I thought Fuel were very far behind right now. So, Doa's copied Moira, which is rarely the play, but because it's overtime, because trades have happened, because both supports are dead, this is actually an insane copy to get this Coalescence, because now he's the only sustain for his team. And he's able to burn down Fleta because of it. Now with Fearless coming back in, close to Primal, this is a hard spot to stabilize for Dragons, with these trades going through for Fuel. I'm surprised they opt to die on payload. Given that it's overtime and given where the payload is, I think Lee Jae-gon could have survived here. I think Fate definitely should survive here and get out. But no, he's opting to commit on point, stalling out further, waiting out spawns. Okay, Fate's going to get out anyway. Lip isn't, though. Yeah, I don't think dying on... Because point's going to be, like, here by the time you're coming out of spawn. And especially for someone like Reaper, you'd love to be set up before that. Yeah, you see Lip just spawned. So, like, I could at least understand Fate a little bit, especially since he got out alive. But Lip, I don't know. Awkward call. The beat to get them out, that followed up by the mines, followed up by the Blossom. Blossom does nothing. Mines get a kill, though. Oh, no, Hanbin's Diva Bomb hit the chandelier. I think he meant for it to drop a little bit and be able to catch maybe people like Void, maybe even Izayaki or Lip, although it did force their cooldowns. It's not too bad. Yeah, Sparkle's got nothing to do but punch tanks, but he's built himself another ultimate. Oh, actually, he got lip during that. I just noticed. He's trying to get Fleta. Coalescence from Fielder to keep Sparkle up. Can they keep Sparkle up? Han been forced to touch the point. Fielder going down to that bomb is huge. That's going to end the map. I think... Oh, hi, Archer. I think Shanghai just won off of that bomb. Yep. Hey, buddy. Okay, you want to not sit on my headphones, please, though? Thank you. Okay, there we go. So, a lot of that map was Fuel struggling. And Fuel, like, struggling hard. Like, all of second point, Fuel was just praying for a win. And it wasn't until Shanghai sort of half committed and then got punished that they found some leeway. This is... I mean, obviously a stark contrast to the first 4 maps where Fuel was in control of almost every engage. The ones that they did lose were often off of over-aggression on their part. So it's almost like the tables have turned, where Fuel was on the back foot for the most part, only being able to punish Shanghai when they clearly overextended and these kind of things. So what Fuel needs to do... So this is map choice, right? This is Fuel's map choice. I don't know why they'd pick Junkertown. Out of all the escort maps they could have chosen, and I don't remember what the map pool is, so don't quiz me on that. But this seems like the opposite of the type of map. At least first point. So second point will be more beneficial for... Second and third points can be better for Winston, but overall this is like a really good ball map. For this composition at least. Obviously no long range sightlines are going to matter that much, but where they will matter is for the main tanks who don't want to get poked out during their approach. So I'm surprised they chose this map when they've looked fine taking this matchup with Fearless on Winston. They're picking this map, and they know it's not great for Winston. They're picking ball for it, and they're rolling out their defense. They're doing a close hold here even. So Fuel have acknowledged that they can't keep up the same playstyle against Dragons. Dragons have adapted too well. I think this is potentially a mistake because I think it's too late for Fuel to try and adapt to what's going on. I think this is too slow of a reaction. If this was 2 maps ago and they were reacting to how they changed playstyles on Rialto, absolutely try this comp. Absolutely try and outplay them in their own game. Try and patch up your weaknesses there. I think they were almost telling themselves like, okay, we got 3 maps. We can win one of them, right? Surely we can win one of these maps. Almost a little bit. But that being said, they both stayed on their current comfort playstyle, but also weren't committing to it as hard as they were before. I don't know if that's a fatigue thing, whether or not the communication isn't as strong as it was before, or if it's just them starting to respect the Dragons more and not being able to roll over every team in NA like they have up to this point. But if they're going to commit to their playstyle, they need to commit to it harder. So instead of doing that, they're opting to commit more to a flexible playstyle with Fearless on the ball, being able to leverage the map more, and potentially being able to rely on Sparkle and Doa's individuality more and less of the team stuff. But this is all very strong speculation, so it's hard to say. I'm not really sure what the point of this close hold is, if they're not hitting the choke. So if they're going aggressive onto point, they need like everyone going aggressive to point. Sending people to mark like lip, like sending Hanbin maybe to mark this damage and stuff like that, sure. But Doa and I think Sparkle should both be on Void right now. Because otherwise Fearless is just doing nothing. Sparkle should actually be dueling Fleta right now, if anything. Okay, so they made that aggressive play, and they left with about equal ult economy. Not the best, not the worst. Now they're playing all the way back here. So yeah, already you can see like how much more they're respecting their opponents by not just hard committing off the bat. They're playing more reactive, playing a little bit slower, playing more around the map. Would like to see more. Oh my Lanta Fearless. Would like to see more slam combo plays with sticky bombs from both sides. So this slam comes out. Fleta is like in the atmosphere right now, shooting at Jexa. And then at the same time, Fearless goes in for his. Sparkle is shooting at the targets, but not lining up sticky bomb timings. Or even like an aggressive timing at the same time. So I'm not sure what the plan is for both of these ball players, but Fearless committed a little bit too hard for what his team was doing and ends up getting punished. I think anytime a slam is being used from both sides, Echoes at the very least should be looking to make an aggressive move. Obviously, Divas need to be pocketing the slam to make sure they don't get blown up during that time by a Reaper or something. But there should be some amount of aggression coming in during the slam. If so, as an example, from Fearless's slam here, what should Fuel have been doing? I think this is a perfect time for Doa to be ready up here. If we know we're going to be slamming this corner, Doa should be up here looking to walk on people like this Reaper, looking to walk on people like this Lucio. Or if we're really aggressive too, we could even go for a TP play up here, maybe shooting the people that get slammed up. At the same time, Sparkle should be pressuring the slam targets, forcing Void's Matrix on him, splitting our DPS threats in this moment, mean that Void can only answer one of them. One of which should either net a meaningful amount of damage, like a bunch of stickies onto Void, a bunch of shotgun shells onto Lip, forcing him to Wraith. These are meaningful sources of damage. That means that the slam found value. If we don't find any of those things, all we're doing is feeding our health pool to the enemy. And also, Fearless fell back this way, which is something he might do as Monkey if he had Bubble, so that they can bait people onto him, get enough healing, bubble himself, and then the team capitalizes. But it's not something you can do on Ball, because Ball needs to be always in motion, or else he's a target. So Shanghai capitalizing a little bit on Fearless's over-aggression, as well as a little bit of his uncomfortability on Ball, I think. He's not as comfortable on Ball as Fate is. At the very least, he's not as comfortable on Ball in this composition as Fate, obviously, because they haven't been playing it as long. Nice kills from Sparkle there. Fearless was doing the thing that he does on Winston, where he tried to jump and counter the slam engage by throwing down a bubble, except he was Ball, so all he did was roll through, get slammed, and then roll away. Alright, full retreat. Survive the coalescence, now go together. Again, without really strong ball tech, this is really hard space to break if you're Fearless. It's very hard to approach with the team. With Winston, it's easy as pressing a button, right? Or two to put down your bubble. But with Ball, you need to approach with more creativity. Otherwise, this is just not free space. That's what we're not seeing from Fearless right now. Beat and Blossom used. This is a free fight for Dragons. Too hard to get out. Fearless not doing enough on the ball to actually mean anything for his team. So his team's basically going in without a main tank at that point. Fearless may as well be playing Zarya or something. I wonder if Pine could have played in this round. What if they psych them out and force them to play a long-range hit scan and have something easy to dive? The problem... So just to address that really quickly. So I'm assuming you're talking about like pulling out a Widowmaker because it's Junkertown, or even something like an Ashe, right? Where you'd have like an anchored DPS, you'd run a similar style dive comp, but you'd have this anchored neutral threat where they could just shoot, and if they try to dive the Ashe, then you commit to counter diving. The problem with that is the amount of sustain in this composition, where you would need to literally get a kill to have any neutral threat. You would need to literally like be hitting headshots on Lip, or Lijigon, or Izaki, or Fleta. And in order to do that, you need already pretty aggressive space, because there's nothing stopping... Okay, when actually Fuel's on defense. So there's nothing stopping those people from just not peeking. And you need to be like somewhat aggressive, like maybe here or here, to find those shots. Or you wait till the payload gets here, and then you find like long-range shots from down main or something. But there's nothing forcing them to engage, is the thing. And even though you'd have like more pressure on point and stuff like that, Dragons would eventually find someone to engage on. that doesn't even need to be the Ashe. Or even if it was the Ashe, they would find ways to close the distance more effectively. So even if you're playing up here or back here, they would just like play within these buildings until you become relevant, until your sightlines actually mean something for the fight zone. And then they would try to out-rotate and close the distance onto the Ashe, or they would just straight up try to dive a target who doesn't have the support of Reaper damage burning down the tanks, who doesn't have the support of Echo damage burning down priority members during that time. And sure, the Ashe might find some good shots during those moments, but it's not a guarantee. And if anything, it becomes a liability because Ashe becomes the only one without a get out of jail free card, outside of Coach Gun, I suppose. And then if Ashe ever does become a dive card, like even from here potentially, that can be a rough time. Not to mention, Ball can just go solo 1v1 any long range hit scan if they don't have peel. So the reason I say like Ashe would probably be around here or around here is because if you play up here, then Ball is just on you like Tracer. If you play back here even, and your team's playing all the way up here, Ball can just run around the map, get on you, and it forces the team to fall back. Similar to how Fate touching the payload, let's say the payload is like right here, and the team is defending up here. If Fate rolls around and touches the payload, this is forcing a retreat from the team to go contest the payload. Same thing happens for your Ashe. If you just lose your Ashe to a Ball 1v1, it's not a good time. But yeah, back to this. Shanghai pushing up, not in a great spot. Diva. Both Echoes copying Diva. So this is a really good engage opportunity for Fuel, because this is just not where you want to be as Dragons, but judging from their position, it almost looks like they're ready to fall back. Doa's TPing in, they fall back to the Mega. Mines trying to extend the engagement. Void is going to kill all the mines. Yeah, this is just absorption from Shanghai. If I had to point out a key difference between both these teams, both look very strong at the hard engage, at just going in. Shanghai didn't at first, but now they do. And that's been Fuel's like primary pillar of their style. But Shanghai looked better at absorbing this aggression and being able to bait these cooldowns and survive them. Fuel has often opted to throw people off guard so that when Dragons are committing, Fuel commits even harder and sort of plays the Uno reverse card on them. Shanghai's adapted to that playstyle, learned to kite out for longer, be more patient than usual. Again, a big shout out to Fleta and Lip, who at the beginning of the series were getting punished like crazy. But now they're playing a lot more patiently, and they're actually getting a lot more value. Like, it's not until now that Lip's making an aggressive move. I'm not sure why he's wraithing right now. And this is actually the opposite of what everything I was saying, where Shanghai thought they had an aggressive moment, but they weren't ready for the coalescence. It was like the final piece of the puzzle. It actually wasn't the final piece. Doa still had Death Blossom, so like if they opt to go aggressive after the coalescence, then Doa comes in with the Death Blossom. This is sort of more of that double bubble ult economy style we're seeing, where we're using one ultimate after another to maintain pressure, and then anytime they try to push back, you've got another ultimate in the bank. Make them think you're out of cards, and then hit them with the Uno reverse. Early Blossom from Doa. I don't like early Blossoms in general, unless they're comboed with something else. If you are comboing Blossom with like a duplicate in their backline or a Diva Bomb that's disrupting them, it becomes too easy to deny with Matrix, obviously. But if by denying them with Matrix, it's forcing the Diva out of position and you can capitalize on that with like a Diva Bomb or even just like Echo damage and stuff like that, then it can be worthwhile. I didn't see that from Fuel though. So here you see Lip blossoming, forcing Hanbin's Matrix, but at the same time, Fate's going aggressive, trying to disrupt Hanbin, but also trying to burn people down away from the Matrix. Fleta also doing the same thing, trying to go aggressive onto Sparkle, because he knows Sparkle's not going to get Matrixed if Lip's blossoming. But the beat and the dupe counter all of that aggression for free. Well, for free. Ultimate's used, technically not free, I suppose. Another round of ultimates. A remake from Sparkle kills Lip. So far, looking really good from Fuel. Really good defense. They seem to always have something up their sleeve, which is a sign of really strong ult economy and really strong coordination. Give them the +4, yeah. I mean, they kind of have been with all these ultimates they're using. That's kind of like a +4. Bait going in. Fleta. So, again, this is the timing we like to see. This is a soft commit. But this is Fleta looking to follow up a slam, being sped in and matrixed by Void. And hopefully Fleta's damage causes something, maybe a Wraith Walk, forces them to give up this position. And then the next time they commit, they will be able to go at that with Fuel having less resources. This is how you break space in a nutshell for most teams, for most compositions as well. Sparkle's doing the right thing by absorbing this pressure and trying to duel Fleta out of the situation. He's using space that his team has control of to deny other angles from Fleta. It looks like he's not going to get the kill, though, unfortunately. And Fleta has the duplicate anyway to continue aggression. Fate going down very early, though. Ooh, can they kill Hanbin? They can. And this is a case of just more ultimates. Dragons having more cards than Fuel. But the way they opened that fight was really, really good. Knowing Fleta could go aggressive, having the safety of copy, following up on the slam to get free value before having to commit ultimates, and then following up that pressure with ultimates. You don't use the ultimates to start that fight. You use your soft engage tools to start it, see what you can get from those. Then if it's worth it, then you hard commit. Smart play. Nice kill from Hanbin. The game looks a lot slower with both teams on ball. Fuel know they can't hard commit as deeply without Winston, and just wait, he got a hole in one and went right through the window. Not having Primal as one of the ultimates in the bank as well just doesn't create as much of a hard engage opportunity. So it's interesting to see both Fuel and Dragon slow down in this matchup. Love to see Dragons make a rotation here instead of just playing in main. So, oh, they're just speeding to point. I guess that's a rotation. Oh my god, Fleta is doing damage. Unfortunately, both Hanbin and Fearless went back to the point. I think only one of them should. Probably Fearless. But Hanbin ends up going down there as well. Even with them committing both supports here, Hanbin is the one holding this space. If they're going to commit more people here, it should be like Doa or Sparkle following up to try and kill those people. But these are not the people we need to deny damage from. The people we need to deny damage from are Lip and Fleta. So this is where Hanbin needs to be at this very moment. And given how flexible the movement is for all of these characters, it's very easy for Fate and Fleta to like look like they're committing here and then actually move over here. This, I made another Haikyuu analogy yesterday, but I'm going to make one today too. But this reminds me of like, this is like... there's an episode in Haikyuu where the blockers learn to react to where the ball goes instead of the way the people move. So you have to react to the setter setting the ball, not just where the spikers are moving, because the spikers can throw you off with their approach. So by reacting to these movements here, and of course you have to react and respect payload pressure, but Fearless was already doing that. But it looked, on paper, sure, like Dragons were committing over here, when in reality, they did a quick to the left side of the court, and now they're spiking down here, and you're not ready to defend this. And it's left to all these members who just got destroyed by really strong play from Fate, cleaned up by Fleta, completely opened up that fight for them. Doa tries to salvage something, getting Izayaki, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Ooh, nice copy timing from Fleta. Hey Fleeked, live streams, coaching sessions we're gonna be changing the format of them, and there's gonna be an announcement about that next week. Sorry about that. I know they're all down on the website. Alright, we're on third point now. It's a minute on the clock. Fuel trying to go back to their old hard engage style, but Dragons are just looking better at retreating. And not to mention not having a Winston makes it harder to maintain that space. And now they've like full-on over-aggressed. Look how low Doa got. Look how out of position they are now because they didn't find value. I think if they're going to play the style of like punching through, they can't just retreat back. They need to still make creative plays when retreating. And instead of just like going through and then backing up, maybe they just like rotate around the map and give themselves more time. I think they're putting too much priority on the objective here when they can be just using Fearless to go touch the point if ever needed. They could just be falling back to like, if they pushed all the way up here, maybe they fall back this way. I don't know, something crazy. They fall back up to this high ground and then they get ready to go aggressive again. If anyone is touching the payload, it should be Fearless. We shouldn't need to be kiting back in a straight line like this in a predictable way, in a way that they want to be moving anyway, because that gets them to the objective. If we take them over this way, it buys us more time, buys us more opportunities to stabilize and kite them out, as well as give Fearless more opportunities to disrupt them if they end up chasing. Or if they end up going to the point, now we can basically just attack and take a better neutral fight once we've stabilized kind of thing. We can sort of set our own pace. But Fuel getting caught out due to their kite. Dois goes down. Fate slams up some more people. Fearless trying to stall them out a little bit. But again, this very predictable movement arc they're traveling in makes it easier for Shanghai to find opportunities onto backline members. Okay, this is a more creative option. Going aggressive in this moment. Doubling back. Lots of fast-paced movement back and forth here. This is Fuel showing signs of life. They're really good at that when they're going aggressive, at making those quick, decisive calls and playing like a mix-up game with their movement. Can they even touch? It doesn't look like they can. Wait, who touch? Oh, okay. Of course. There's ball in the game. Of course they touch. Interesting Blossom from Lip. Not sure what his target was. Now they're back to the point. If they can stabilize, they should absolutely be fine. Doa goes down. It shouldn't matter too much. These mines are huge. This bomb is huge. Oh wait, that was Void's bomb. They should still be okay? Question mark? Especially with Lip going down. Void's the only one alive, and they can't touch. Okay. I completely thought that was Hanbin's bomb, and it would have just ended the map. But they're fine either way. So, biggest thing there, when Fuel started looking better, is when they had more creative options getting into these fights. On defense second point, it was very predictable what they were doing. And eventually Dragons ended up outplaying them by like faking a push to point and then doubling back. Really well played by them. That's like some of the strongest macro play I've seen for these compositions, is just that deception and stuff like that. Good stuff. But Fuel did the same thing here, where they were kiting back for a long time, and then they immediately went aggressive, and then immediately doubled back to the point. So these are the strong calls where this is a composition that doesn't rely on like big playmaking ability, but on strong team synergy and very fast decisions. So those decisions are paying dividends when they come out from Fuel. I just think we need to see them more often, like we're seeing them from Shanghai. Shanghai's doing a really good job of almost every fight doing something interesting. At least when it counts, from what I'm seeing. So yeah, this is final map. This is where the pressure's on from Fuel. They managed to stop Dragons from full capping the map, which is always good. But this is where they're really put to the test. Dragons looking like they already have a more coordinated close hold. This is something they drafted up, maybe in the time it took to pick this map, or maybe something they practiced in scrims, where they know this cover is going to benefit them more because they can't be pushed. Fuel, when they were out here, they knew, well, one, they had less control over the payload, but also if they got pushed, they were just going to give up any payload pressure. Here, when Dragons get pushed, if they get pushed into this room, one, it benefits the defenders in this case. Like, sure, like, they can keep their backline safer, they can matrix damage more predictably, these kind of things. They can also back out this way unless they get full surrounded. But generally, it will benefit the people holding in here, well, without giving up payload pressure, because they can still always touch from this doorway. They can't stay here forever, obviously, or they'll get poked out, or Fuel will charge an ultimate or something. but they have the space available to them that Fuel just didn't on their close hold. Oh, Fate. Yeah, Fearless's slams do nothing when they're inside here. Just tagging the cart one after another. Now they commit. Nice isolation. Sparkle going for an aggressive play because I think they were trying to set up for a push in, which is why they wanted to get this around. They were probably going to have Doa over here, Sparkle here coming from the side, and then the tanks pushing in main. Because they can't do a normal roll-through engage, they can't do a slam when they're inside this building, they have to make creative angles. Fleta is all over that there. He's inside Sparkle's brain. He's like, hey, if I were on the Dallas field, this is what I'd be doing, so I'm going to go shut this down. Yeah, very willing to commit to this as well. Again, this is reminding me of the earlier maps from Dallas Fuel. They're like willing to commit when it doesn't seem to make sense on paper. They're willing to take more aggressive fights than maybe they quote-unquote should. But it works out for them because they're all on the same page and they're all decisive about these movements. Again, these mines aren't going to mean anything. It's like an aggressive Diva Bomb if Shanghai push forward. And we see Izayaki going on a flank for some reason and making sure that they just flip the map here. It doesn't matter if Izayaki's disconnected from the team over here because he's not back here where it's impossible to get back to the team. The team can now use this as their defensive space. And I'm sure in their communication structure, they're talking about, okay, flip the map. I'm sure they have a keyword for knowing the map's flipped. And now this is where your backline is instead of back here. And they take the fight on this side of the point. Fuel, though, with the beat, with the copy, looks like it just have more resources. And they're able to recommit. They actually didn't have that many more resources, but Dragons just decided not to use ults that fight, it seems. Maybe they weren't comfortable with the position they were in. Dallas, to me, seemed like they still have that sort of hive mind playstyle. It is harder to play around with ball, obviously, because Fearless doesn't look as proficient on ball as he does on Winston. And they're not able to play the same types of engages as they could with Winston. But they do seem to be on the same page. Like, look at these movements. They're all moving together. Oh, but they're okay. They do stay clumped together. I mean, but so is Shanghai is the thing. And Fate is definitely finding more value on ball. And they're coordinating more around Fate's cooldowns than Fuel is around Fearless's. Like, this whole time Fearless is going aggressive for a mind play and a slam. Like, this is a solo queue play. Look at where his team is and what their team is doing. Like, this is either really poor coordination from Dallas, which is uncharacteristic, or this is like really good play to disrupt this engage from Fate and Lip in this moment, which I don't think is the case because every map up to this point, they've been so content to just ignore Fate and push forward. And the same should be said for Lip, except unless you're Hanbin or Jexa, and then they just boop him away and matrix him and deny any kills that he can get. But this is a time Dallas should be going aggressive. They're just not as decisive as they were before. And instead they're saying, okay, we're playing slow. We're going to try and punish Lip. Maybe try and punish Fate. Which is working, I suppose. It just doesn't seem characteristic. They're just playing a lot slower than they were before. And if they're going to be playing a lot slower, I don't understand Fearless's ball play there. Maybe it is just a mix-up. Maybe it's a bait. It's a bait engage. And then the real play was to kite it out. Maybe. It's hard to say. Nice slam with the choke. Again, there's no follow-up. Like, the slam means nothing. This is like if you're Winston and you jump in and throw down your bubble and then just no one does anything. Like, this is a 5-man slam. And there's no sticky bombs. There's no matrix. I mean, there will be matrix, I suppose, if he gets... Okay, there's matrix now. There's no flank from Doa. Like, if Doa was right here, Sparkle's up here, ready to land up here if he needs to retreat, or ready to just use this vertical cover, stuff like this, throwing down sticky bombs into the slam. Doa's over here to use the chaos and matrix being committed onto the front line to get some free shots onto Lip, Izayaki, maybe even Fleta. But none of that's happening. And instead, Dragons just walk out for free. It's like the slam didn't even happen. Doa's going for an ult play, which would have been even better, by the way, if he was ready to follow up the slam.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Diva.
They beat to counter engage. Now they are willing to commit onto targets. The problem is now okay. I was gonna say the problem is now they have to get off the payload, but they commit. It all works out. They don't even need to get off the payload, as it turns out. The ultimates were enough to close out that fight for them. But yeah, we're not seeing enough coordination around ball, and it's likely due to the fact that they just haven't been practicing ball at all. They probably played Winston this entire patch, which worked for them, to their credit. Like, they didn't need to play anything else. But now Dragons found the one thing that can force them to play slower, force them to be more respectful. Oh my god, the hamster noises. Look how decisive Dragons are with their ball engage, with their mind play. It's not that they like need to play in the mines or anything, but look how aggressive they're all going. Again, they're duoing their ultimates. They're using mines and coalescence to overwhelm Fuel, and they're catching Sparkle off guard. And then they're continuing aggression. This is what Fuel looked like in the first couple maps. Fuel, now at least, being able to kite through and survive most of this, and actually punish Fate, so that's pretty big. So it's not like Fuel are like playing bad, it's just they're not playing the same that they were before. And Dragons actually look more proficient at the same style that Fuel is pulling out and like beating everybody with. Again, always in pairs. The copy bomb with the regular Diva bomb. It's interesting. I'm only noticing this as of the past couple of maps, but it seems really interesting. Death Blossom is kind of just when you see it type of ultimate. Doesn't necessarily need to be paired. Probably saw Matrix was low. People were low enough to be one shot, and even if the Matrix was reactionary, it would still get the kill kind of thing. But yeah, really strong play from Dragons. Kind of think, yeah, I think Fuel need to go on the ground. They're gonna flip the map, it looks like. They're gonna try to, maybe. High grounds and flanks and stuff don't really mean anything for these comps. They just need to make sure they're not walking through really bad space, like a choke like this, or getting dove on in like awkward space like this, where you can't even get space as Sparkles Echo. So doing this rotation and engaging on these stairs isn't a normal engage. Usually, if you're trying to flip the map, you'd go all the way over here. But no one on this team comp really benefits from being over here, so they're just trying to take the faster fight when they have ult advantage and these kind of things. So Jexy unfortunately goes down early. How did he die? Let's go watch him. Amping in. Oh, went for the aggressive boop and ate some shotgun shells into a coalescence. Oh, and an echo. Fuel is now the ones layering their ultimates, except they've layered them all in the same space. A Blossom, Mines, and a Diva Bomb. Anyone standing here is dead 3 times, but unfortunately that's not where Dragons are anymore. What we've seen from Dragons, at least for the most part, not every time, it's not perfect, is when they're committing something like Mines and Blossom, they don't use the same space. Or when they're using Diva Bomb especially, and another ultimate, they're contesting different space. They're going to be Diva Bombing up here, and then coalescing from here, or something like that. This is a bit lazy of a setup, a bit ambitious of a setup. Everything needs to go perfectly for that play to work. At the very least, Diva Bomb should have been thrown down this corridor. On top of that, I'd like to see Doa like TPing over here and looking for a backline Blossom. And also, if you are going for Blossom, you probably don't want to be Diva Bombing at the same time anyway, because you want Matrix for your Reaper. So instead of doing this, we could have Minesed here, TP'd for Doa, gone through aggressively here. Doa peeks from the back, starts blossoming, Matrix comes out in the front line, all that good stuff. But they're under pressure. There's only a few minutes on the clock. They're trying to make fast engages happen. They don't need to be perfect to work, but they need to be better than that. Sparkle, don't go for the remech. Just get back in your Diva mech. Bit of an awkward bomb timing, but at least they were kind of cool looking. And yeah, Fuel already ran out of gas, so those bombs I think didn't even matter. I don't even think they needed them. This is a really tough spot for Fuel now. With no strong fight opening ultimates. Like, mines are okay. Diva Bomb's okay. You'd really like to have Coalescence, though, or Copy for this final fight. As well as Beat to help stabilize mid-fight, but they don't have that luxury. They're going for the same rotation again.
10 seconds remaining.
Fearless going down very early. He's stressed. Fate traded out, though. Doa getting a kill. That's big. Now they're playing the more chaotic. So what's interesting now, so this is like a super chaotic fight, and I don't know how well planned this was. But this is actually Fuel adopting the more individual playstyle that Dragons was showing at the beginning of the series. You saw how split up all these people were, and it led to Sparkle and Doa each getting kills. Because Dragons is used to playing a slower pace, where they can stick together and respond to threats as a team. When those threats come out split, especially for someone like Void, it's hard to respond to the right one at the right time unless the team is all on the same page, and they only have to deal with one threat at the same time. But because Fate was isolated, I don't actually know where specifically he died. Let's see, he died. Okay, yeah, he was going aggressive over here. No one there to help him, and then of course they're already thinking about a movement during this time, but Doa catches Fleta off guard at the same time. By splitting their threats, they're creating more individual opportunities, which is, again, not something typical that we've seen from North American teams in this composition. At the very least, not from Dallas. Oh, they need to finish these kills pretty quickly, though. Alright, they got a long way to push. Fate dying on payload is fine. He'll always be back in time. And Dragons have almost 4 ults to Fuel's 3 at the moment. Slight favor in Dragons. Slight ult advantage for Dragons. Decent setups. I don't know why Fearless is on the ground. Just seems better to be not on the ground in almost every case, especially on this point where this corridor is like very useful for getting to either side of the point. But now he's going to require a grapple to hit any choke. He can't do anything. I guess he could wall bounce here and try and slam this choke, even if they were coming here. But even if you are trying to hit this choke, like, you still position up here and use your ears more than your eyes. But they're approaching from up here. Let's see what Fearless does. Or the other alternative is leave Fearless on cart and have everyone else hold chokes. Have Diva over here. Have, I don't know, Echo watching these other chokes. Big mines play from Fearless, so he did find the rollout. The mines, so there is like a bit of a sweet spot you want to hit. These mines are like just a touch too spread out for what you'd like. Unless you're denying like a very specific space, you do want to think about covering a large area, but this is the point where the area is like a little bit too large, and the mines themselves won't combo into each other. So let's look at how high Fearless was when he... So yeah, this height here, given, like, if the whole ground was at this height, like if this was all like extended high ground, this would be fine. But because it's also spreading onto the ground, these mines are just like a little bit too far apart, and they don't really mean that much. They're easy to avoid, and they don't bump into each other when you hit them. And yeah, just go aggressive, Fuel. Like, if you're gonna make this mines play, like, play into it. Go aggressive right now. You forced their beat. We can respond with beat. We can use our Diva Bomb at the same time. We should be layering bombs and Diva Bomb together, maybe. But you can't rely on a defensive play here. But they kite this all out. Lip finds a TP in. Fate finds a big slam. A big bomb comes. Doesn't kill anyone. Bombs traded out. Now Dragons are willing to commit. Pushing in. Big slam. Doa gets denied completely. Oh, Lip. Oh my god, the Matrix lasts. Another bomb. Sparkle's about to use his too. Okay. Okay, Fuel. Should be fine. Sparkle's still... Oh no, Sparkle's dead! Oh, and another beat from Lee Jae-gon. This was going pretty well in Fuel's favor. Where did it go wrong? So, the bomb killing Fate is huge. Right now, Fuel are 6v5. And there's no immediate ultimates on the table. So all Fuel need to do is stabilize, use your numbers advantage, stay alive. Stay alive. Kill one by one. Don't let them get something dumb off. Fleta goes down on top of that. Hanbin is out of mech right now, so there's no Matrix on the table, so unfortunately Lip goes unchecked, kills Hanbin. That's okay. Iziaki goes down as well. So it's 3v5 right now for Dragons. And the only ultimate they have coming online is Beat. All Fuel needs to do right now is focus down targets one by one. Probably starting with Void, because unless like Lip oversteps, they're gonna have a hard time focusing down. Jex ends up going down to Lip as well. So 2 people have now died to an unchecked Reaper. Wraith form used. 3 people have died to an unchecked Reaper. 4 people have almost died to an unchecked Reaper, and then the Beat comes out, and then now there's nothing they can do. They don't have the stability. They don't have the target focus. They don't have enough to get through D.Va's Matrix. Biggest thing by far was Sparkle dying. If Sparkle stays alive, there's immediate kill threat on both Void and Lip, I think. Doa and Jexe and Fearless should be focused on pocketing Sparkle during these chaotic environments. Maybe Doa should be going for an aggressive play of his own to sort of bait Matrix on himself so that Sparkle has more room to play with. But no one should be... I mean, everyone should be focused on living, obviously, first and foremost. And knowing that Hanbin was out of mech and died to Reaper earlier, that needs to be a reaction to respect his potential. That means Sparkle playing in the air. There's no Fleta to come deal with him. Landing on these high grounds instead of on the payload. And again, like, you can't fault these players for this kind of situation. Can you imagine how stressed you would be in Game 7 when you were up 3-1 and this map determines the winner? And you're just like, okay, I'm not leaving the payload if it kills me, which is exactly what happens to... Well, Hanbin dying at first, understandable, but that's where the communication comes in. It's like, okay, Reaper is the biggest, not to mention only threat at this very moment. Focus Reaper, don't let him get another kill. Jexe on the payload, too focused on staying on the payload, too focused on maybe booping around the D.Va, stuff like this. Dies to Lip. Sparkle's focus goes on to Lip, but again, because he's so focused of maintaining his position near the payload instead of something safer like this, which again is safer, but also like more damage value and almost necessary to pull their attention away from the payload. I mean, Sparkle goes down. Yeah, Lip just pops off. And then, of course, the cleanup. Oh, man, that sucks. That sucks for Fuel. They were up so far, and Dragons just barely clawed their way back up from that deficit and brought it back. So, this meta, to be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan of. This whole... Here, let's just go back and pause at a frame. This whole... Oh, this is a bad frame to pause at. Let's go here. This whole meta of Reaper Echo, Lucio Moira, the tanks are kind of whatever, is solely focused on not misplaying, from what it seems. And metas like this have existed before, like Goats, or sometimes even Double Sniper can be considered in the same boat, where not misplaying being a bigger deal than outplaying your opponent, I find kind of boring. The most exciting part of this map was when this fake out happened. And the most exciting points of the series, like when Fuel was looking good, was just when they like unexpectedly went like 3 stages deeper than you'd ever expect them to, or when big ultimates came out like at the very last second, people like pulled something out of their sleeve when it was unexpected. Like those are the flashy plays, those are the big moments that are fun to watch. But everything outside of those moments are just teams like testing the waters against each other until someone blows a cooldown or someone uses an ultimate and then they don't get value out of it, or someone uses an ultimate in conjunction with another one to just force a poor reaction to one of them. Like those can, I suppose, be considered outplays, but the bigger part of this meta seems to me to just be about staying alive longer than your opponent, and eventually it'll be your turn hard enough to go deep and close the fight out. We've seen a pretty big stylistic difference between the West and the East, where the East seems to put a lot of focus on individual playmaking and causing all that chaos so that your Echo can pop up or so that your Reaper goes unchecked. You're trying to enable that win condition. Whereas in the West, in North America, we're seeing a lot of this heavy team dynamic play where you're focusing on just keeping everyone together and outlasting an overwhelming numbers advantage. At any time they split up even a little bit, then even Lucio becomes a dive target, even Moira becomes a dive target. As long as you're together, you have that sustain to isolate people, burn them down. The way this series evolved, these teams almost flipped roles by the end of the 7th map. The Dragons looked much more coordinated towards the end. Fuel looked very strong on their engages, but they struggled a lot when it came to respecting the Dragons engage, and I don't think they were expecting Dragons, or any team for that matter, to be able to match their speed, and it seemed to be that was their biggest downfall. Swapping onto the ball led to a slower playstyle on either team, given that both balls could play the map, play the objective, threaten more neutral timing and stuff like that, as well as not having a Winston on Fuel's composition meant they didn't have tools like Primal to go to split from their group and find a ton of individual value, as well as they didn't have the bubble to commit as hard and as deep and for as long as they could originally. So a lot of small factors led into this matchup, but really huge kudos to the Dragons to properly identifying Fuel's playstyle, being able to adapt to it, not only to respond to the aggression, which they were struggling to do in the first couple maps, but ended up getting towards the end of Rialto, but then also turning that on its head, which we saw a lot of on Eichenwald, of them being the aggressors and looking better than Fuel at their own game. So yeah, congrats Dragons, well-earned victory. This was an intense series. Even if it's not the most interesting meta to me, these teams deserve a ton of respect for the adaptability they showed, as well as the obvious talent on both teams. Crazy series. But yeah, that's another 2.5 hour stream for me. The Overwatch League games, I believe, are on, so I'm going to go watch those. But that's going to be the end of the stream today. So I'm thinking what we'll do for future OWL review. I'm obviously going to review all the finals from the future tournaments that come out, as well as the playoffs. But I do want to keep doing regular OWL review. I think it's fun. I think you guys enjoy watching it. So just keep an eye next week for future OWL review news, and we'll have something planned for on stream. But that's it for me for now. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you're looking forward to seeing more stuff like this, or more coaching sessions, or more content in general, be sure to subscribe to our channel below. Check out our website and our Discord down in the description. And yeah, come join our community.